because I'm a little bit, yeah.
Hello, Cleveland! Hello, Cleveland! Fuck you, Mr. Postman. Fuck off, good. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I have no idea what's going on.
Hello and welcome to Out on the Tiles 5, a music rewind live stream where past and present and future guests of the show just come on a Friday or Saturday night to chat about music. I love that intro.
I do too.
It just turned out so great. I love it.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. I saw it the other day when you posted the link, and I was like, "This is great, man."
Well, and for those that don't know, Bryce, that is his music on there. So
yeah, hello.
Wonderful
Yeah, I had a
rendition.
Same thing about that. Yeah, I had an interesting thing about that the other day. That was fun. Spotify said they were going to pull it. And I was
Really?
like, what? Yeah, apparently all of my streams were fake, which doesn't make sense because it was on a Spotify Discovery playlist. So I'm like in the process of figuring that out. That's awesome. But yeah.
Are they tap it as not a cover? I mean, covers are allowed.
No,
right?
no, like yeah, covers are allowed, and I have licensing for that. I don't know, just like came up on my DistroKid when I logged in the other day, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, guess we got to deal with this now. But yeah,
it's to say it's also the intro of like 20 of my episodes now. So
right, well, that's what I thought. I'm like, this song has been everywhere. How is it? And that's what was funny is it said it was 100%, and I'm like, wow. I know people listen to Music Rewind.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually Spotify is where most of my plays are from. Actually, Julian's episode on Neil Young is huge because Neil Young's not on Spotify. So someone searches for Neil Young, they get my episode as the top result.
Yeah, every time I Google my name, that episode I did with you is on the list, pretty close to the top.
Also, one of our most popular ones, especially on YouTube. Actually, it's got a ton of plays on YouTube. The Eric Clapton episode, yeah.
That was a good time.
After I made my my little thing the other day of my favorite live albums, it hit me. I forgot about One More Car, One More Rider. I forgot all about it. Like, how the hell did I forget that one?
I don't know. You know, that's one of those ones that it sneaks under the radar if you don't hear it all the time.
It's a hidden gem. It absolutely is.
It is. It's easy to forget. Like sometimes I'll be away from that kind of style of music for a while, and then I'm like, "Oh man!" You know, I'll hear some song off of that, and I'm like, "This is great! I forgot about this," and I dive back into it.
Yeah, because when we did your episode, you were self-labeled as a blues, but you've evolved big the past year and a half since then.
I have, yeah.
What would be your style now to self-categorize?
So I went through a thing the other day on this, and I thought, what is that? You know, what is it now? Because there's like on the new stuff, there's screams and all these like kind of Pink Floyd-y chatting bits. There's all sorts of cool stuff. And I was like, what is this? You know, and so I started looking at the bands I think it sounds like, and post-hardcore is kind of the main umbrella that came up. And I was like, well, okay, I'm okay with that.
All right. If you had to kind of intangibly dotted line to a major established artist out there, like who would you compare that to?
If I had to go big established artist, some of it, so it's an EP. There's multiple songs.
You got a new EP coming out shortly, right?
Yeah.
Or you got a new single coming out.
Yeah, April 4th.
April 4th. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm trying to think of it's probably Perfect Circle.
Okay.
I mean, that's for one of the songs. One of the other songs is more like 3 Days of Grace, My Chemical Romance-y. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to hear it. I'll send you a copy of it when we get done here.
All right. Yeah, I look forward to hearing that. Looks like Rosen's joining as well. Steve, I'll introduce him when he gets on here.
Hey guys,
How's it going?
good.
Yeah, he's not connected on audio yet, but there it is. Hey, Steve, welcome.
Thanks, guys. How you doing?
Steve is our most recent guest. The last episode, a rock journalist and author of Tonechaser, third edition, recently released, about his 26-year friendship with Eddie Van Halen. So,
Wow, long time.
welcome. How's the re-release going? Third edition going?
It's been great. Steve, you're kind of going in and out. Bryce, I can see and hear clearly, but you're kind of blurry and you're kind of, it's gagging. I'm not quite sure what that is, but
Hopefully it comes out all right. It's live.
okay. Cool. So I actually just got the books yesterday. They were put on a truck from the port in Long Beach, which is about an hour north of me, and I had to go find 7 very big, dedicated individuals to help me bring the books from the ground up the 15 steps into my little condo, and that was something. We did like a bucket brigade. In the olden times, they passed the bucket of water along. So we had guys up along the stairs, schlepping these boxes, and So I'm still just trying to organize and find a spare wall or a spare shelf somewhere, and it's been great. I mean, I actually started taking pre-orders on December 4th, so I'm just trying to fill all those. It's kind of FIFO, first in, first out. So chronologically taking care of those who kind of pre-ordered first, and it's been fantastic, man. The book is beautiful. If I may, so this is the look. So this is the first cover in color, and Niels Lozauer again, his amazing photos. And what I did this time is I actually had a kind of a custom box made for him, so everybody will see the book in the box. So this is actually meant to be the front, but it kind of opens here, and that didn't work for me because I was going to put a mailing label across. So I made this kind of the back, and that's the photo from the cover, and then that wonderful quote from Edward about the elusiveness of being a tone chaser, and then this is what I've used as a front because it's flat, and then I have my address up here, and the mailing label will go here, and so the side's pretty cool. So the side, mimics what the book spine was, and then on either end we have tonechaserbook.com, which is my website. And man, I'm really happy. Response has been pretty amazing, and I'll be at the post office every day now.
I've had a few listeners reach out, say they have pre-ordered it. Looking forward to getting their hands on it.
Oh, excellent! Yeah. Terrific. Yeah. Well, to you out there, I'm working as feverishly fast as I can, and I will get them to you. I'm hoping within the week. I'm hoping by Friday or Saturday, I'll have, if not all, most of the pre-orders done. So just as far as your knowledge of guitarists and everything, Bryce, our other guest here, established musician himself, blues rock genre, and his episode he did with us was on Eric Clapton. Oh, nice. Yeah, I heard of that guy.
Yeah, he's a little artist, huh?
yeah. I guess Edward heard about him too. It's funny, I try to go to the gym, and I typically default to albums. I listen to the same records over and over, but I keep putting on Wheels of Fire, and my God, his playing on Crossroads is I don't know, man. I've never heard anybody play live like that, the sound of his guitar, because you can hear other versions of Cream doing Crossroads, man, and it sounds nothing like that. Some of them sound like just real kind of funky country stuff, yeah, you know, and others are really fast, but none of them, God, just none of them have the feel of that, you know. And
when I saw Roger Daltrey open for Eric Clapton, it was great because one of those lines he threw out there, right towards the end of his set, was, "I'm opening for this new cat. You might have heard of him. I hear great things about little Eric."
Yeah,
it was a good funny intro for Eric Clapton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's had a pretty remarkable career, to say the least. I mean, wow.
Well, welcome, Al and Mike.
Hey, we were just chatting over
Al
there.
and I had a 10-minute conversation, figuring out where you guys were at.
Google Meet? Who the hell uses that?
Because
it was right on the top of the invite.
Yeah, it was right on the invite. You had to go down, like it was up here. Just click on the blue box. Boom, clicked on the blue box, and me and Mike are chatting in there. And then we start talking. Where is everybody? Then we look down a little bit, and there's your little live StreamYard link down here.
Well, I mean, it is your first time doing the live stream.
Wait, aren't you an IT guy?
You can't fight the Googles, man. They put their label and their meats on everything.
Blame it on the big corporate.
That's too funny.
I will blame it on the corporate
away about life and everything. And he's like, "Where is he?" I go, "I don't know. I think he'd start early." But
we were kind of like, "Where's this? This host sucks. He's not even in the meeting yet."
I can't argue that.
Oh, shoot. Sorry about that.
Well, welcome, guys. Good to have you. Got a good core crowd here. And we've been chatting already about Bryce's new music coming out on April 4th. Steve's book re-release is about to be shipped out, available for order. So
yeah,
lots of
looking
good stuff
forward to that.
Absolutely. All right, so what do we want to talk about this time?
You want to wait and get people in here? You want to talk about the topics you sent out?
These are the 5 confirmed, and everybody else
maybes.
is maybes. We might see Tom later, possibly Tony or Nick. So it's
cool.
I think those were all the maybes. The Luke and Danny, they can't make it tonight, so they got more important things like family,
real life, I guess.
Yeah,
blame.
But first and foremost, Mike, you had some disagreements with me on my live albums, my top 15
live albums. Oh, you want me to talk about that?
It's fresh in my mind.
Steve, the Who Live at Leeds is, especially for a Who guy, like the Who Live at Leeds, especially a guy who likes Tommy. They play Tommy.
I know,
at least on the deluxe version.
But I prefer the studio album of Tommy. I was raised on it, and it's one of those that I prefer the studio version. I had it in my honorable mentions. I did.
Honorable mentions. Nobody reads those.
But I had the Counting Crows in there, and that is a lot of recency bias with my conversation with Tom Jepson, who recently recorded Recovering the Satellites with me, which is a great episode. And in that, he recommended I give Across the Wire a listen, and I was floored. It was really good.
I've been arguing with Tommy about that record, that live record, I think for 30 years. I feel like we've been arguing about it forever because I hate the way that Adam Duritz changes all the stuff, and he goes
and
on
that's
this
what
scat.
I like about it.
Maybe that's why I've never seen Bob Dylan live either, because I don't I don't want it to sound just like the album, but I also don't want it to go off for 15 minutes of nonsense ramblings either.
Well, now had I not recently
solo and everything, that's fine.
Had I not recently listened to Recovering the Satellites in full many times over for the episode, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed the double album live one as much. I mean, I knew those songs front to back, and then those different arrangements really kind of played well to my ear.
the Counting Crows have a double live album?
Yeah, across the way. It's in,
they have enough songs for a double live album?
Well, yes, especially when
That's actually early. Well, it's 2 different shows, to be fair.
It's 2 shows, and it's pretty much August and Everything After and Recovering the Satellites. Those 2 albums played live, mix and match different orders and some different arrangements of some of the songs. And like they play Round Here twice, they play another one twice, and neither of them sound the same. So it's neat. You say 2 different shows. Yeah, and from what I've told, like when you see Pearl Jam 2 nights in a row, it's 2 different shows.
Right.
Not cookie cutter.
Yeah, always different.
See how I did that, Mike? I compared it to Pearl Jam.
Well, there's a reason I think that Pearl Jam's been touring for 30 plus years, and the Crows are like off and on. And now, who are they?
What do you mean? The Crows have played every state fair and high school reunion party for the last 20 years.
And now they're opening up for Santana because those 2 artists seem to mix well together, I guess.
That's interesting because I actually just watched a YouTube video earlier about dad rock and the definition of dad rock, kind of like what we've been asking on the Generations thing.
Explain that.
Yeah, because nowadays to kids that are teenagers or younger, dad rock is now Blink, MGMT, that realm.
Oh.
Whereas had you asked me as a teenager, what's dad rock? I'm going to tell you the Doobie Brothers,
Christopher Cross.
Chicago, Christopher Cross. That would have been dad rock to me. So the evolution of dad rock has evolved more than the definition of classic rock.
Okay, so there is a great Essentials playlist on Apple Music, and their description of dad rock is a term that first gained currency in the late 2000s. Dad rock began as an irony-laden put-down for younger acts that still adhered to the lessons and values of their guitar-toting predecessors from a previous generation. Yet for the songwriters and fans who still found plenty to discover and enjoy in heritage acts like the Beatles, Zeppelin, Bruce Springsteen, dad rock has become a badge of honor, one that's proudly worn on denim jackets while their owners are out pushing strollers or attending Little League games. What's more, many of the acts who fly those colors treat the canon as a springboard for their own explorations and innovations, whether it's My Morning Jacket's Cosmic Country, the Nationals' emotive and epic anthems, or Wilco's ever-shifting take on Americana and more. Clearly, these dads still mean business. And the first song is a Wilco song on the playlist. So it's honestly a fantastic sit on the porch, have beers playlist.
I bet it is. Well, there's what prompted the YouTube video I watched was the guy that made it. There's now that's what I call dad rock CD.
There is?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
That is, I get it. It's amazing. Is there like now that's music, what, 200,000, like 250,000?
Oh, yeah. There's hundreds of those now CDs. I mean, that's wild.
I think, I don't know if you all have heard Tales of Time yet. The Joe Bonamassa record at Red Rocks. Choice.
I have not.
Choice. I'm kind of biased because I was at that show.
Oh, yeah.
But
that always does help.
It does help, but I don't know. Even, that night it was like, yeah, this is like a Joe Bonamassa show. I've seen him at Red Rocks a few times. But that was a great show. The night before he had gotten rained out. And so they canceled it. They were supposed to film the whole music video for it that night, which was like just a Red Rocks concert. And so got rained out. And then by chance, I just ended up there that night. I bought tickets like the prior day. And yeah, then they ended up filming it. And it was like, yeah, this is a Joe Bonamassa show. He's doing like a whole album. So that's cool. But I wasn't like blown away. And then I go and listen to the record. And I was like, wow, this is way better than I remember it being in concert.
That's got to be cool going to a concert and seeing that the one you were at turns out to be a released live album. That's never happened to me that I know of.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Well, Pearl Jam.
I only got one song,
right? Mike.
What was that?
Pearl Jam does it all the time. They release every concert.
They release it's.
I have one from when I was there.
Well, that's like Government Mule then, because
I've
seen.
They did release before they did the bootlegs. It was called Live on Two Legs, and it was from the '98 tour where they picked and choose songs, you know. And the first song on that album is Corduroy, and it is the show that it was my first concert that I ever went to for Pearl Jam. And that's the Corduroy. And my wife's always like, that's my favorite version of Corduroy. Have you ever heard it? I go, heard it? I was there.
Nice. I think I have the Monkey Wrench Radio live.
Oh, the 95 show.
Was it 95? I thought it was 90.
95 at Soldier Field.
It was at 95 at Soldier Field? Okay, that's the one. It was at, no, not Soldier Field. Yeah, that's right. 95.
Yeah, it's the one my mom wouldn't let me go to.
Yeah, I was at that one. That was a pretty cool one.
Why didn't you take me, Al? Yeah. What the hell, man?
How old were you then? You probably weren't even
15.
15.
That was 1995 in that summer. Oh, Steve, real quick. I don't know if you could see this. This is some beer that came out of Chicago.
What's it called?
The new breweries. It's called Funky Town, and it's like the cover of Fuji's.
Oh, okay.
As the can. Yeah. I saved it just for tonight.
As I was scrolling through the festival posters for the summer, there's one with the Fugees on there. I didn't know if we were going to get to that like we did last live stream and go through the festival lineups, but I was just surprised to see that. I didn't know they were a thing.
I didn't know the three of them talk to each other.
Yeah.
I know she hasn't had a record out since like 98. Like she doesn't typically.
Well, and she's not necessarily reliable on time. You know, like she may show up, she may do a song and leave.
Right.
You know, it's.
Lauryn
Hill's a bit of a loose cannon on that, that lineup. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that she has only had that one record. I mean, it's a fantastic record, but
yeah, and until I did that episode with Marika, I didn't realize that was her only record.
Yeah,
I just assumed that she had at least 2 or 3 others, with the voice like that, but I didn't know the depth of her troubles after that album.
Might I? I'm sorry, guys. Might I jump back to Joe Bonamassa for a minute?
Absolutely.
So I interviewed Joe a couple times back in the day, and he is a special player. That guy. I mean, I really love the guy because he loves all that early classic English rock. I mean, he's a big Kossoff fan from Free, and he did a Jethro Tull cover. I mean, who does a Jethro Tull cover, But I lived up in Laurel Canyon, the Hollywood Hills, up until about 3 years ago. I actually lived up there for about 45 years. And I did not know that Joe actually lived literally right around the corner from me. A friend of mine, Rick Gould, is Joe's kind of guy, takes care of all this music stuff. And I had somehow contacted Rick, or we connected over my book, and I said, yeah, man, I'd love to get a copy of the book to Joe. And he goes, yeah, come on up, So instead of basically walking around the corner, I had to make my schlep from Orange County, but it was worth it. I got to see Joe's house. Joe's been up in the canyon, I don't know, I think he's been about 15 or 20 years. You probably know Joe has, I mean, I don't know if it's the greatest collection of Les Pauls in the world, but it's certainly one of the top 5. Yeah. I mean, it's and he's got the guitars at his house, so he's got some there, and it's just you cannot even believe what you're seeing. I mean, it's just row after row, and I mean, he's got Fenders and Telecasters and Strats, but yeah, it was pretty cool. So his deck sort of overlooks kind of the canyon. So we were sitting out there, and Joe's smoking his cigar, and he pulled out one of the Les Pauls, which he said at the time was the most anybody had ever paid for a Les Paul. I forget what he paid for this one, $166,000 or something. This is some years back, so it was well, it's a shitload of money now. Back then it was really a lot of money. But amazing guy. I mean, unbelievable guitar player. I mean,
He's an unreal guitar player. Yeah,
he
absolutely.
is. My God, I mean, honestly, I'm not a big fan of blues guitar, kind of blues, but he just takes it, outside so much, and he's got all those jazz chops, and oh my God, he's scary good. I mean, honestly, look, Joe is incredibly successful. I don't really know if he gets all of the kind of the acclaim that he should be getting. Honestly, I mean, it's
agreed. The guy's unreal. I mean, it's still that thing like the Bonnahoo, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And nobody knows him, but then they hear him and they're like, "What? Where has this guy been my whole life?" Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Incredible guy. Incredible. Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I was going to go back when he wasn't home and go steal all his guitars. Now that I know where they are. Oh man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was he associated with any bands over the years, or has he strictly been solo?
Black Country Communion, is that what it's called?
They just put out a new song the other day, I think. First time in a long time. Yeah. Huh. They did. Let's see. It was really funky too. It's got like a funk rock type of thing going for it. I don't know. It's called "Stay Free" is the name of the song.
Huh.
Is it the same lineup from the first?
Yeah.
Country team? Is it?
Yep.
I forgot the Deep Purple. Was it Roger Glover or was it the
Glenn Hughes?
Glenn Hughes. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they were good. I mean, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't an amazing band. But I mean, it was good. It was really good.
Yeah.
I think he's done various solo projects, with different. He'll bring in different artists and he'll do little duo things and stuff. But I think I believe he's just mainly known as a solo artist, right? He's just out there doing his thing. He did a version of "Had to Cry Today," Blank Face song, live version. You heard that one, Bryce?
Oh yeah, I've heard that, guys. I've been a fan since 2009. I've heard all of his records before that. Everything he puts out, I have a few. Yeah, he's by far my favorite guitar player.
Wow, unbelievable! I could not believe how good that was. Besides the fact that the guy sings incredibly well for a guitar player, for a guy who plays guitar like that. When those guys try to sing, it's like, they're okay, but that Had to Cry Today. My God, and his band and a trio, and it was so big sounding. Oh wow!
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's interesting you say that song in particular, because that song I had known from the Blind Faith days when I got hard into Clapton and I was listening to a lot of that. Exactly. And I found that song and I'm like, this is great. And then that came about right around the time I had found him, and I was like, this is a whole new world of this song. I mean, this is otherworldly. It was awesome. I love that song.
Great song.
That was great.
Did everybody go through their favorite live albums already, or we're still doing that?
We're kind of bouncing around. What you got? Anything you want to mention on that topic?
Yeah, I have four of my favorites. And when I choose my favorites, I usually just go by what I always play. So, like what I always go back to and over. Probably the first one is Motorhead, No Sleep Till Hammersmith. That's I listen to that one a lot. At Fillmore East, Allman Brothers, listen to that one a lot.
That was on my list.
Unleashed in the East from Judas Priest, I listen to that one a lot. Man. And some not so much, but often I listen to Strangers in the Night from UFO. Those are my top 4 live albums.
The Allman Brothers. I'm sorry. The Allman Brothers live record is good. Those guys are an amazing live band.
Yeah, that 11-minute version of Elizabeth Reed is phenomenal. The Whipping Post 20-minute version is good, but it does. You got to commit to that one. But that 11-minute version,
that's a long time.
The 11-minute version of In Memory Lives with Reed is just the perfect song. It's just, I don't know, everything about it's perfect.
I actually saw the Allman Brothers at the Whiskey. This is probably 72, somewhere around there. I don't even think I had started writing yet, or if I did, it was just peripherally. And I mean, I knew about them. I don't think I knew that much about them, but I remember thinking, wow, that slide player is a really good guitar player. You know?
Yeah.
He's going to go places.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome to have been able to see those guys so early and raw in their career. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, because I saw him in like 2005 at on the Waterfront Festival in Rockford. I don't think it's the same band in 2005 as it was in 72.
Yeah. Well, most of those guys had passed away. I mean,
yeah, that would have been Warren Haynes at least, right?
What's that?
That would have been Warren Haynes on guitar at least in 2005, wouldn't it?
I will say it was kind of cool though, because the only thing that was really neat was after the show, you could buy like the CD of the show. They had like high speed like burners, and it was like,
what year was that?
2005.
Wow. And
it was like it was like $10-15 and you could buy it. So I was like, oh shit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Show. I was like, I go, how long am I supposed to wait? They're like, oh, it's right here. We threw it on and like ripped it without any like editing or anything like that, like pure soundboard.
Or it was the last concert and you're too drunk to know the difference. Well, now that you mention that,
I don't know how many times I go back and listen to it. I'll be honest with you.
You listen to it, he's like, "Hello, Cleveland."
Yeah. Hello, Springfield. I try not to remember living in Rockford, Illinois, for too long. So I try not to tell people I lived there for 2 of the longest years of my life. So. Cheap Trick. Besides,
yeah. Was the museum open when you were there?
There's a Cheap Trick museum.
No,
there was. Yeah,
that wasn't open. It's like weird. Rockford, like they like hate to talk about like the 2 coolest things that happened there: the Rockford Peaches and like the Cheap Trick. And you know those guys, like Rick Nielsen, still lives there, and so.
That's strange because you got like Oklahoma City, which mentions and praises the Flaming Lips every time they have a chance.
Oh, but Rockford, I could have a 20-minute rant about what Rockford's done wrong as a city, but it's. I used to be their auditor, so like the choices that they made, it was. They discontinued like their Metra and Amtrak train to Chicago because they wanted to be a bigger fish in a small pond instead of like being connected to Madison and Milwaukee and Chicago. What? Like, nobody's going to Rockford, man.
That's a bold strategy.
Yeah, and it paid off just like in the dodgeball.
Oh, well, I will be remiss if I don't mention early in this though that as far as Northern Illinois goes, the Peter Pan National Tour will be heading to Northern Illinois, Chicago here at the end of March, beginning of April. That tour is the most fascinating thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, proud dad stuff aside, seeing my son on stage as a principal actor in a major, Broadway tour, still floored, and I'm in shock every time I see it. But that aside, I'm not going to just praise him for an hour, but the being able to be part of a tour, even as just a guardian of one of the actors, really cool. The logistics of it, the mindset, how these actors are able to get into show mode and perform 8 shows a week and it's not easy. It's a high dance show. There's and there's belting, singing, and everything. Every Monday is a bus or a plane to another leg of the tour. It's and then you've got some really really big names that are part of the creative team and acting crew. I mean, Lonnie Price as the director, legend Lonnie Price, 3-time Emmy winner, and just he's amazing, great guy. I'm so happy I got to meet him. But it's just really cool. And these people are so professional, even when, they've already had a bus breakdown. Going from Durham to Charlotte, they had a bus breakdown, and the logistics people in the back office already had a plan B, put it in action, and got them to the show on time. Just really cool stuff. And not to mention, you've got 4 kids that are under 12 years old. You got two 12-year-olds and a 6 and 7-year-old that are principal actors that are right there with the people playing Captain Hook and Peter Pan. The kids are just phenomenal. So if it comes to a city near you, I highly recommend it. Let me know when
my wife and I are ready to rock. We're pumped.
I'll be going to a couple shows in Chicago. My wife's on tour with them right now. And then in Chicago, we're going to swap out. And then I'm going to take about a month's worth of cities, a couple weeks in Chicago, a couple weeks in DC, and then it heads down to Florida. And then in Florida, we're going to swap out again. And all the way till Reed decides to leave the show. So that's life now for the foreseeable future.
So awesome.
When's the end of the tour?
It's just, she can't believe it. It's crazy.
So the tour has dates into 2025.
Oh,
I don't know about everyone's contract, but I believe the season, because they break it into seasons, and season 1 ends in August after Costa Mesa, and then after August is technically season 2, but they do have plenty of dates into 2025, and I think there's talk about 2026. But will the cast that's there today be there then? Doubtful. Right. I mean, people move on to other projects, and it's with actors on stage. It's a rotation.
So
they've already had
on until end of season 1 or
December. So actually, he's on contract, I believe, until December, because it was kind of a 1-year contract thing. But if there's another project, or if he gets burnt out, he can leave early, with notice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We leave it entirely up to him. He loves it. Him on stage, I mean, he's a theater kid through and through. So it is the happiest I've ever seen him to be with other theater people. Very, very unique crowd, to say the least. So they're all amazing people, and they're just, each and every one of them is an artist, and they think as an artist. No offense, Bryce, our artist.
It's okay. But I get it.
Me, IT nerd, not artist. So
yep.
They different people think on different wavelengths, and it's amazing to see them work. And it was really cool to see this whole show take form, because back in October of last year was when we first went to New York for studio rehearsals. So I got to see all these numbers, just like you see in the movies, where you got everyone in their dancing outfits, and they're just like workout clothes, doing the steps and doing the numbers. And to me, the IT guy in the corner, I'm like, this looks crazy. This is chaos to me. And then barely 6 weeks later, they're doing their first previews up in Minnesota. And it's like, holy shit. How did that come from this? These people are amazing. Wow. Really, really neat. And to touch on one of the whole points of the show even being made is they have done some really cool updates to the story, because the story originally had some rough edges, to put it politely, when it dealt with Native Americans and whatnot. And they brought in a lady named Larissa Fasthorse, who is an award-winning playwright herself, to change that particular part of the story. And to me, as a guy that does a movie podcast too, when I hear, update from modern audiences, I will internally cringe and just oh God, this is going to be a disaster. But I was wonderfully proven wrong, because they did a wonderful job of actually doing it properly and with respect for the story. Because that's what often gets lost when they force things in, is the story goes out the window. Whereas this time they do a very wonderful job of giving the Native Americans on the Neverland Island a proper character and backstory. Very well done. They pull it out of Edwardian England, number one. So that's it's a very diverse cast from the get-go. So, colorblind across the board. So placing that type of diversity in Edwardian England would pull you from the story, because it's like that doesn't fit. So it's actually in any city, USA, anytime, and it works. So the bookend of the kid's bedroom could be any of y'all's bedroom growing up. So, and that works quite well. And then the Neverland story is kept the same. And there's a couple of new songs written by a Tony Award winner who is I can't remember her name. I'm sorry, but she is a Tony Award winner and the descendant of it was either her dad or her grandfather that wrote the original. So kept it in the family. So really, really cool stuff. PeterPanOnTour.com. Go check it out. They got plenty of cities coming up. Unfortunately, Atlanta's not till 2025, which is shitty.
San Jose in June. That's the closest for us. So we'll be at that one.
I'd have to look at the schedule. I don't know who, if it'll be me or Michelle. I think Michelle's got a good chunk of the California leg. Not that I don't want to be in California, but I don't want to be in California.
Fingers crossed that Reed is Michael that night. But
we submitted those dates. So that's all we can do is tell the audience it's a friends and family day. Hey, we have friends and family in the audience. Can you please adjust the schedule? It may or may not happen. It may be an imaginary string and it doesn't exist at all. I don't know. But we pulled that string if we can.
Yeah, when it gets closer, we could always try to sell them on StubHub and go the next night or whatever too.
Also we don't do that. We might be able to help you switch your tickets with the box office. That is one thing we can do.
Don't do that.
Michelle just did it yesterday. Dom, who did the DMX episode, him and his family drove up to Charlotte to see Reed, and they booked, because you just got to book them in advance and hope for the best. And they booked Friday night. Right. To explain, if you're under a certain age, you can't be a principal actor for 8 shows a week. Legally, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, those silly child labor laws that they have.
Damn child labor laws.
Stuff like that.
So there's for every John and Michael, there's another John and Michael, and they flip flop. And when he's not Michael, he's a lost boy. So they go back. So he's still doing 8 shows a week. It's just not always as Michael. So all right, and that's I won't talk about Peter Pan for an hour. I could, but I won't. Oh. We can move on to the next topic, which I don't know what that is.
Beyonce's country songs?
Yeah. Has anybody listened to those?
I've heard, I think, 1 or 2. Texas Hold'em? I think that's the name.
But that's not out. The full record's not out till when? End of the month. Right?
Her singles, I think, are on the top of the country charts.
No, but I was talking about the full album. Steve, I only listened to the full album.
Am I a jerk if I say I just don't give a shit at all?
Looks like Beyonce Lemonade Act 2 is March 29th.
Lemonade and
it comes out the same day as Sum 41's Heaven and Hell.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure. Same audience.
Ooh, tough competition.
Oh, and also Sheryl Crow, Evolution.
No, hey, sorry, that's Hall of Famer Sheryl Crow to you?
Oh, yeah.
Who got in before?
What?
Who got in before? Alice in Chains, Soundgarden.
That should be a topic in itself. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the 80s.
I'm sorry, Sheryl Crow has 5 songs. 5. 5 total, and she was a backup dancer for Michael Jackson. Like you should not be in the Hall of Fame for that. She's a cover artist. She legitimately should just be like, if she wasn't good looking and wrote her own songs, she would have never been popular. I don't understand it. Like, I'm fine with her as an artist, but like 5 songs get you in.
The
Like,
Hall of Fame is not that's
album.
not a Hall of Fame. That's a commercial business. That's not even a real Hall of Fame.
Like Kate Bush, again, Kate Bush got in only because of Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's
Like,
I disagree with
there
that
is
one
no
completely,
way
yeah.
that someone says, "Oh, this." Yeah, she's very innovative and all that, but she's not like a ballot Hall of Famer.
I didn't
so.
even know who she was. I had heard that song in passing over the years, but
Yeah,
I
so
had
did I.
no idea who she was.
The
Witherden
duet she
Heights-
does with Peter Gabriel is the only way I know her.
the one that they always talk about, like on Pitchfork and all this, Wuthering Heights, I think it's called. It's one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. It's like this high pitched squeal, like it's actually killing rabbit sounds is what it sounds like to me. And then Running Up That Hill is a great song, but I have beef with Stranger Things because there is a 12-year-old girl in the middle of nowhere, Indiana in 1987 or 86 that knows that song. I call bullshit. Like, there's no way that she knows that song. Even with
No, but she's
MTV
so
on.
cool. She's edgy. She knows these.
Maybe she had a hipster older brother or sister that sent her the import.
No, but her older brother in the show is like a metal guy or a stepbrother.
Yeah, completely not Kate Bush style music.
Definitely.
And then also the other thing I would like to bring up about that show is Master of Puppets came out in the spring of that year. And that kid figured out how to play Master of Puppets in 2 months without tablature or the internet. Either he's the greatest guitar player as like a 16-year-old ever.
That can be done though. If you all you do is smoke weed and practice guitar every day, it's pretty easy. Trust me, I've been there.
All right.
You don't even need weed. You don't even need weed.
True. You don't need that.
I just found it. I mean, obviously it's a TV show, but I found it like, if that's the only song that you play, I guess.
If that album, yeah, exactly. If that album possesses you, you will sit there and figure out.
Did they date the timeline of that episode in those
Yes.
years? Is it?
Yes, because it's
okay.
And what's crazy though is because it came out in like, I want to say out March or something, and that's like spring break when that happened. So it might even be less than a month that he figured it out. Which I think I know the guys from Metallica were all for it and everything, but like if you're Kirk Hammett, you got to be going, I know that solo is harder to figure out in just a couple weeks for a 16-year-old kid to do it. But I mean, the kid really played it in the show.
Great scene.
He really played it.
It was a great scene. So.
No, it's a fantastic scene. And he really learned how to play it. But that actor took him a long time to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is a character who spends most of his time playing D&D. So
right.
That's fair.
So you can't be good at both. You can't. There's no way.
Sounds like a Tom Morello. He's a big Dungeons and Dragons fan and metalhead.
I didn't know he was D&D guy.
Yeah.
For some reason, I could see that. I don't know. That just makes sense to me.
I mean, he did go to Harvard, so he's.
Did he really?
Yeah, he's got a master's degree in history.
Damn, from Marseilles?
Oh, no, he's from Libertyville.
Oh,
yeah.
Originally, his mom lives in Marseilles now. Or as my wife always says, I don't know. It's got to be just hillbillies that call it Marseilles because that's not how you're supposed to say it. You're supposed to call it Marseille, but like,
what?
Yeah, having grown up, 15 minutes from it, I've never called it that.
No, well, it's always funny because you call like Des Moines, but you don't call Des Plaines, Des Plaines.
And there's a town that's
French.
There's a town that's just south of Peoria called San Jose. So obviously out here, San Jose, but back there, everybody just calls it San Jose.
Yeah, that's Midwest hillbilly right there.
Yeah, exactly. Spelled the same.
Yeah, Steve. Tom, Tom Morello's a guy, like, I always laugh if people come after him on Twitter about stuff. It's like, you're gonna go after a guy who has a master's degree from Harvard in history? Like, I don't know, man.
Well,
Like,
and
that's not a
I
guy
think,
I'd go toe to toe with.
was it like the guys from The Offspring all have PhDs or something?
I'm not surprised.
I think Dexter does for sure, but
Is that the lead singer?
Yeah, Dexter Holland, is that it? I'm pretty sure he does. The lead singer from The Descendants has a PhD in was it biophysics or biochemistry or something like that. Milo
That's crazy.
Ackerman, yeah.
Wow.
I do always have to say, it's one of my favorite thing about Tom Morello and Rage Against the Machine is when people go, "Oh, I didn't think their stuff would be so political." The band name is called Rage Against the Machine. Are you shitting me?
Rage with the Machine these days, but you know.
Well, they don't do anything now, but the funny story, we were talking about live shows. My wife and I went and saw them, I think it was 2 summers ago, and the reason they canceled the tour is because Zach got hurt, and we were at the show. He blew his Achilles tendon out, like jumping around, and like I'm like, you guys are in your 50s, you can't jump like that anymore. What are you doing? But we watched him. He came back out and he sat on like the speaker rack and like did the show. And then finished the show, and they did a couple more, and then he was like, "I'm out." And then they canceled the rest of the tour.
They must have went to a Springsteen or Paul McCartney concert and saw the, their energy levels. Tried to replicate.
Yeah, saw Springsteen that same summer actually too. So
he's exhausting to watch.
Oh.
It's amazing the energy that dude has on stage.
Yeah, it makes you feel bad. Like if you're like, "Oh, I got to get off the couch to go get a beer," and you're like, "Wait, remember we saw Bruce play for 4 hours, running around? Like, I think I could get up."
And then you see a picture of him with like cardigan, a shawl, looking like Woody Allen, and he just looks like he's a elderly grandma. But then you see him on stage, and I mean, when I saw him at Bonnaroo, sprinting back and forth in the June heat. I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah, it was July for Wrigley, and he played 3.5 hours. Like,
at least when I saw Paul McCartney, it was air conditioned, so at least a plus for him there. But I was impressed with his energy up there too. Paul McCartney had a blast.
So it keeps him young, man.
Yeah, like Billy Joel, he was great. I saw him here at the Brave Stadium, and but not necessarily a high energy concert. I mean, that was obviously piano based, and a couple songs he did stand up with a guitar and sing, just straight microphone. But it was, he was a crooner. He's not really known for Bruce type music.
Yeah, I was like, well, my wife and we saw Elton like twice on his farewell tour, and I mean, Elton's not jumping on top of the key on top of the piano anymore like he was in
one of those farewell tours of we really mean it this time.
Well,
super serious.
To be fair, COVID like kind of shut his down. Like he started it, and then in 2019, and then he had to come back and hit all the other place else. So
you can always come back like Kiss with the hologram avatars. That's still one of the stupidest things I've seen. Who's going to pay money to go see a Kiss avatar hologram on stage? That's just dumb.
Kiss people.
It's just like Futurama. It's like Futurama when they hold those heads. That'll be
just the heads.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing. They'll just set them up on like a podium, and then they'll do their thing with the hologram body, maybe even the head in the jar. Like
Gene Simmons is listening right now and taking notes. That's a damn good idea.
Shit, that's great. Give me a cut, just a tiny cut, Gene. Just tiny cut. 0.01%.
Tiny cut of the family jewels. There.
Yeah. How about going on to songs that you can't turn off? I know that's skipping ahead a little, but
that's a good question, though. I wrote this question down.
Not all of us can do karaoke. I mean,
yeah, I've never done.
Nobody wants to hear me sing ever. My kid doesn't want to hear me sing. He laughs at me when I try to lullaby him.
One more thing on Peter Pan. I just gotta say this: the Baltimore after party that they gave for the show, the press party, which those are really cool to attend. Having been to 2 now, just really neat. But this one in Baltimore, they had karaoke. It had a great big Peter Pan backdrop and the karaoke. And Reed, at all of 9 years old, he's just, when were they gonna let us sing? Were they gonna let us sing? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. The little shit was the first one to step up there in front of a whole room of Broadway elite people. Local millionaires who were supporting the arts in Baltimore and stuff. I mean, just a whole crowd of people he doesn't know. And he starts belting out "World's Greatest Violin," and he nails it. Everyone's cheering. I'm like, this kid has just balls of steel. I couldn't do this. I don't know where he gets it, but like, holy crap.
I couldn't do it at a bar with a bottle of vodka in me with people I don't know. God bless them.
But yeah, so the question was, what is a song that, once you hear the beginning, you just have to let it play till the end? And I always think of Cartman in South Park, where whenever he hears the beginning of "Come Sail Away," it's a great episode. He has to finish it.
Especially towards the end when he like speeds through it.
Yeah, well, you got Kyle at some point just goes, "Hey, Cartman, I'm sailing."
Yeah. Come on, you guys.
So yeah, question to y'all. What's a song that you just got to let it finish?
Sweet Emotion for me.
That's a great one.
Not Walk This Way. I turned that off. I'm so sick of that. But for some reason, Sweet Emotion, especially in the beginning when they do that with the wah wah or whatever that is in the front, and it's like doing that thing, and I'm like, oh yeah.
And Aerosmith would have been the bottom of the list. I would have thought you would have pulled there.
Yeah, isn't that a talk box?
Talk box. That's probably what. That's what it is.
That's what it sounds right.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I thought it was a talk box. That's what he's using. I didn't know they had those like that far back though. But then I think
late 70s, right?
It comes alive and
that would have been early 70s.
Barf, talk about a
early 70s
live album that no one never needs to hear again.
Well, I mean, Pink Floyd's Animals. You're looking at 70, 75.
Toys was released what, 75? Toys in the Attic, was that 75?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
that's to me that's their best record.
Space Truckin' and Highway Star from Deep Purple are the other two that I just can't turn off. Space Truckin' especially, and that dun 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 dun. I'm all in, man. I love that.
Yeah, Highway Star has been in a lot of video games. That's what makes me comes to mind when I hear that one.
And I'm assuming that was classic rock question. I don't know.
Not necessarily, because my answer, and Mike's going to come through the computer on this, is Two-Step. Dave Matthews.
Well, yeah, you showed me it. You listened to like a 40-day version of it. So
I do like the Dave Matthews XM channel, because sometimes there'll be a 30-minute version of Two-Step on there, and they're just great. They just jam. It's wonderful.
My wife hates Dave more than Danny does. Like,
I don't even know what that song is. She
says every time Dave comes on, she goes, it's the same song. She goes, everyone is just ants marching, right? Like they all sound the same.
I agree.
But that's just that song.
And I defend Dave.
Okay.
And Danny. I like Warehouse.
I don't like Dave. Some of it does sound the same, but Two-Step to me is a great tune.
I think the Lily White Sessions is fantastic. Like, because it was all sad bastard stuff, and but Warehouse Live is to me a great song. But I don't know if I could listen to 25 minutes of Warehouse in a row without 80 beers in me.
It's got to be the right song to extend it that long. It's got to be the right song, like Two-Step or Cortez the Killer, Southern Man. There's those songs that just really, or Whipping Post. They really lend to that. But if I heard a 30-minute version of Gravedigger, I'd be bored out of my mind.
No, you would have already killed yourself. Who are you kidding?
It's a good song at 3 to 5 minutes, but you extend that out. I'm gonna go get a beer now. It's
I love Jason Isbell, man, but Jason Isbell's like making like Elephant like a 20-minute song, like his audience would all be dead, like actually dead, like because
I went to that Fish concert locally, and I'm not a Fish aficionado. It was a great show, but I don't know a lot of their songs.
yeah.
But I was still able to enjoy myself and rock out along with them. But there were many moments during that show, and I'm like, I go to my buddy next to me. Is this the same song, or is this a new one? I couldn't tell.
Steve, that's funny that you say that, because so when Marissa and I went and saw Dead and Company either last summer or 2 summers ago, they were playing Tennessee Jed, and they go off on a 15-minute, whatever, and they come back, and Marissa goes, "Hey, what the fuck is going on? Is this still Tennessee Jed?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to Murphy's." She just walked out of the stadium. She's like, it's funny because she's like, on Saturday mornings we play, like, it's jam band Saturday mornings, and I never got past Grateful Dead. Like, she's like, I really like this. So it's all like the studio version. So she doesn't know like these 20-minute like solos, but you got to take a lot of mushrooms and a lot of pot to like get into that 20-minute of them just droning on. Like, I mean, I love Pearl Jam, and like the longest song usually for them is like Alive or Porch. But after a while, I'm like, all right, let's fucking can I skip next song? Like, are we done here?
Yeah, so that's for the Grateful Dead for me. That's why at first I never would even listen to them, or I didn't like them at all, because I thought every song was like 20 minutes, and
right,
I didn't have the patience for that. But then when I got into some of the studio stuff and some of the deeper tracks, then I started thinking, oh, this is some pretty good stuff. Once I got away from those 20-30 minute jam stuff, I thought, oh, okay, I can do this. Yeah, I see why people like these guys.
Al, I'm the same way. Like, that's how I was with Fish. Like, I got into Fish in high school, and it was because of a couple albums. And then I went and saw them live, and I was like, all right, because if the songs I didn't know, I'm like, holy shit, like, are we still playing this one note? Like,
yeah.
What happened? Do you have to like just eat nitrous oxide all day to like enjoy this? Because Fish shows are big nitrous shows. I read that in a book somewhere. But I'm with you. Like, sometimes I'm cool with jamming, but after a while, I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go get a beer. If you like, tell me how long you're gonna go here, because I gotta take a piss.
Yeah, to be honest, I think
I'm all for it.
The older I get, the less my attention span is. And if I was at Fillmore East and they did that 20-minute version of Whip and Post, I probably I probably would have been into the bathroom, would have got a beer, chatted with some people outside, and then walked back in when it was about over or something, because I would have just too much.
Well, that reminds me of the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young on 4-Way Street, I think it is, where before they play Southern Man, Neil Young says, this is a really long song, so we're going to play it real slow. And then it's probably 15 to 20 minutes long.
Southern Man?
Of Southern Man, yeah.
Killer, Cortez, I get. Like, that's already, like, the studio version's already.
Yeah. The studio version's like 10 to 12, yeah.
Down by the river.
Minutes. Like, I could see it.
Down by the River is another one, which I think he's done with Pearl Jam too, where they'll go like at Live Aid or Farm Aid or something.
Version is super long to start with, so. Yeah.
Well, and it's not like it's a like Down by the River. There's a good 10-minute on the studio that's just, I don't know.
It's like little riffing and stuff. Bryce can probably chime in on this. There's not every song, but some songs lend themselves to extension because of the theme of the song, right? I mean, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, and especially like bands like the Dead and bands like Fish. Somebody opened my eyes up to this last summer. I was playing a solo and it went on a while, and I never really noticed how long I go until somebody was like, yeah, like that was really good, but like you were soloing for like a good 6 minutes. And I was like, oh, that was a problem, And so that's kind of when I realized like, wow, some of those songs just take you places. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think certain songs.
Is it a certain theme, or is it more of a melody that you latch onto, or is it something else, or do you even know? It just automatically switches in your brain and you go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those like I have something to say with an instrument, and I'm not done talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's real. That's the best way I could describe it, I think. So some of those songs lend to that, and I think that especially when you're on stage with the right musicians and everybody knows their timing well and everybody knows all their theory and everything they need to know to be a good musician, you start to get people throwing in these different rhythms and these different grooves that you can like mirror off of.
Yeah, they can take you to the next level.
Exactly, and you can do the same for them, and then it's kind of this circle of
right, just
juju, and yeah, it's I don't know, it's interesting. Jam bands are interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the Dead though. I had a boss who used to play that every day for hours, and I worked in a huge marijuana grow for a long time, and yeah, every day, man, Grateful Dead, and I was just like,
well, that's stereotypical.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would go together.
To play up the cliche there.
Totally, yeah, absolutely.
My wife today, after about an hour of the Dead being on, she goes, and Mom's done with listening to the Grateful Dead today, Bo. That's my son's name. She's like, and Alexa, stop Grateful Dead, please, because your dad, I'm going to throw this thing out the window. Like she can handle like a little bit of it, like because on Saturday mornings it's like a good like, I mean, you're not going to rip on Metallica at like 7 a.m. when you're
ease into your weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the Dave Matthews thing. I think I have 2 songs that I like of his, but it's Gray Street. Like that song, I love that song. It's off of Busted Stuff, like 2002.
Yeah, Bryce. So I'll tell you this about Gray Street. So there is like a bootleg album of Dave Matthews. It's called Lily White Sessions, and it was after, this was like in 2001 or maybe 99. And they had this record done with Steve Lillywhite after he produced the record. Basically, they thought it was too depressing to put out. And it's like Bartender and Gray Street and all these songs. And so they put out Every Day, which is the one that came out like in the late 90s because it was a little more upbeat. Like it was more Dave. And then like a couple years later, they reintroduced like 5 or 6 of the songs on Busted Stuff, but it was reproduced. And if you get a hold of like the Lillywhite sessions, it's really like it's not depressing, but it's like it's just not like a Dave record. But to me, it's like that's like that would have been the best Dave record I think that would ever been made. And I still have the bootleg CD, like. Because it was on LimeWire or Napster or some shit like that. But
yeah.
But I would suggest if you can find it, try to find the Lillywhite sessions, like the versions of those songs, because it's like the original version of them and not the overproduced stuff from Busted Stuff. I think that's kind of where I fell off with Dave. Like he kind of caved into the record company and like he should have just stood his ground on that. But that's just me. I mean, as a guy who saw him 3 times in college, drank a lot of alcohol, 2 Dave Matthews shows.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Kind of the same. I fell off after I heard Gray Street. I listened through Busted Stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'll pass. I'll go to a different artist because that's just not my style. But Gray Street, that song, I was like, that's what I like about it. It's depressing.
Yeah, I'm telling you that Lillywhite Sessions is depressing, but it's because the
Interesting.
bartender version on Lillywhite Sessions is like really slower. It's recorded like in a different way. I don't know. I that's the thing is I always tell people if they don't like Dave, like listen to that bootleg.
What drew me to Dave was the song Crush. Yeah, because it was a very jazzy feel to it, like a jazz lounge, bass heavy. The song Crush was a good tune, so I bought that album. But the rest of the album didn't sound like that song. That was a one off. So I didn't.
The second one,
Beyond These Crowded Streets.
Okay, so that's a third record.
And it was which is I've revisited it since then. It's a good album, but at the time, I was like, well, I liked that one song.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, the Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds Live at Luther College came out, and that one I really liked, and so that made me explore more Dave songs and a better appreciation for him. And it was years later. It was hella good 3, 4, 5 years later. Music tastes evolve, and I liked his stuff. I was able to pull that old CD off the shelf, like, okay, I like this more now. And then I saw him at Bonnaroo. At that particular Bonnaroo, he did 2 nights as the headliner, and one being Sunday, which we didn't really it's the last night of the festival. It's time to go pack up. I don't care about that closer. But it was the Friday or the Saturday night headline. He put on a great show. I mean, it was just a good. I don't remember much of it because a lot of alcohol involved. But I just remember it was a good show.
It's the Dave Matthews Show, man.
Yeah.
I saw him 3 times in college, and the problem is that the third show was just like the first 2. Now I've heard that it's different now, and I'm, this is 20 some years later that he's kind of like mixed up but I mean, it was like I could tell you.
He's got to have a huge catalog by this point. They could go Pearl Jam style and have a different show, different set list every night.
100%. But it was like all right, well, here comes Warehouse, and here comes Crash Into Me. Like I knew like how it was gonna come, and this is 2000.
Yeah, I don't need to hear Crash anymore. That's
right, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's not like you knew the set. There wasn't Setlist FM back then that you could, see what these guys are playing, and I could tell like what was going on, and I'm like, I didn't even walk. It was Alpine Valley. I didn't even walk. I could hear it. And I didn't even get over, if you've ever been to Alpine Valley, like you walk up to go like down into the valley. Mm-hmm. And I got to like the top of the hill, and I was like, I told my buddy I was with, I go, I'm good. I don't think I might go back to the field and like drink with people and just like, I don't care anymore. I'm done with Dave. Like I walked away.
And that's what that last night of Bonnaroo was, where you're packing up your tents and everything, getting ready to roll out at first light, but you're packing up with Dave Matthews booming in the background. So it was kind of a nice little, nice atmosphere.
Yeah. But if I want to answer this question,
yes, that was I was going to lean to. So,
Steve, I would say that it's if you
don't say Creed, don't do it.
If the music, it's Arms Wide Open. It's just more of the video aspect of it.
We got to bring up Creed at least once every live stream.
Yeah,
it's kind of
I was going to, but I wasn't prepared yet. I had to get my third beer before I could get to it. No, I would say every time I hear it, and I don't get to hear it a lot because it's not something that's really played on the radio a lot. And I think I mentioned it in my one of my albums on Led Zeppelin 3 is Tangerine. Like the minute that I can hear that,
it's one of my favorite Zeppelin songs.
That fall intro that they do.
Yes, that right there is like it never gets turned off because there's just something about that. Like, and I mean, go back and listen to the Led Zeppelin 3 with Mike Boraski on Music Rewind, season 2. You can hear me. Was it 3? Shit, I can't remember.
I don't know. Yeah. We've done so many seasons.
Yeah. But I think I waxed poetic about that for about 15 minutes because it legitimately is one of my favorite songs of all time. So
Oh yeah, it's to
Same,
me
yeah.
easily the best track on the album. It's wonderful, with Gallows Pole, just right there. But the I don't think I've ever even heard that on the radio.
It's pretty. You know who
it's
plays it
rare.
a lot though? It's more like in Chicago. It's WXRT, and the DJs there can play for the most part what they want to play, and so that's where you hear like offbeat stuff or like non-singles or like bands and stuff that you wouldn't expect. Like they're not playing like Wait and Bleed by Slipknot ever because it's not like a hard
A deep track.
Yeah, a deep track.
Which XM got rid of that damn channel. Kind of bummed about that.
Oh, deep tracks?
Yeah, it's gone.
No, they didn't.
It's
It's 308. They moved it. They just moved it down, way down the list. 308.
I thought you were talking about.
Well, I had my
metal.
presets of rewind, vinyl, deep tracks, the bridge, and then they messed it all up.
Yep.
Shit, Steve, I thought you were talking about liquid metal with Slipknot. I was like, liquid metal is what I listen to before I go to the gym. It gets me all amped up.
Ozzy's Boneyard, right?
No, it's harder than Ozzy's Boneyard. It's liquid metal. It's like
speed metal.
It's like Ginger and like heavier Tool and Pantera. It's like super. It's like stuff that you play at church.
That's on Sirius.
It's real.
That's
Serious?
I'll have to look for that.
It's very.
It's not on my saved channels, but I'll look for that.
It is saved on mine just for the gym. Because the problem is when I get back out of the gym, like I have to put on
the bridge.
You said it. The bridge. I have to put the bridge on. That's the first channel I go to.
Get you some Michael McDonald for the drive home.
I think I have Garage.
Give me some Michael McDonald.
Stevie Van Zandt's channel. That's Garage, right?
Oh yeah, that's
a fun channel. Yeah.
I have that. I have Deep Tracks, Ozzy's Boneyard, and I have the bridge because when you got somebody else in the car with you, you gotta compromise a little. So
I showed my parents the bridge, and they were like, "This is the channel we've been looking for." I'm like, "I know, because Bread's on there."
Well, it used to be a nice setup where I could go to Classic Rewind. And then I could just hit tune, up one. It would go up one to vinyl, up one to deep tracks, then and all the way to Lithium and several others. But now then they screwed up all my presets.
Oh yeah, I have Lithium saved as well. That's right. That's the other one. Yep.
The Beatles channel I have is a preset as well. I like that one.
I know you're shocked, but I have the Pearl Jam channel as a preset. I do also have Fish and Dead. And Springsteen,
yeah. The Tom Petty channel is wonderful as well.
And Tom Petty's channel is really good.
Yeah, because his Buried Treasure show is anytime that's kind of like on repeat. Obviously, they're all repeats now, but I mean, he's done so many of them. But that's
a recording concerts up there.
There's a lot of
could be in the jar like a Futurama.
There's a lot of good unknown tracks I've pulled out of that one.
Steve, this is how you get money right here. He's like, Sirius XM. I'm sure they have tons of money because you can just basically barter them down to like $4 a month. Like, I don't know how they pay for anything because every time you call them, you don't even have to call them. You just like email them back with like, I'm going to cancel my subscription. They're like, oh, we'll put it down to a nickel a day, maybe. Like, you know what? We'll pay you to listen to it. Here we go. And then the next thing you know, you're like, how do I have a credit on my credit card from these guys?
Well, then didn't they buy Pandora too, I think?
Do they? Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think they did.
Because it was two separate ones, wasn't it? It was an XM and
it was
Sirius.
XM, Sirius, two different things. Then they merged, and then Sirius XM bought Pandora. But I don't think they've gone as far as to like call it Sirius XM Pandora. They've kept it two separate apps.
Interesting. Still, I pay like $6 a month for it. It's like the biggest rip. I don't know how they make any money. Like it, I think those DJs all just like work pro bono. Like we feel bad. We just gotta come in, play music for these guys.
Well, they've also got plenty of other revenues coming in as far as like the news channels and then all the sports streaming for live sports.
That's probably how they. I'd love to see how they make money. Like I'm curious.
Well, it's probably the theory of like, you don't get $1 million from one person, you get $1 from 1 million people. It's probably the same model, right? How many millions of subscribers you think they have?
Well, yeah, if you think about it,
just imagine if I got $5 from 5 million subscribers.
Oh no, you're right, because you think about like all the just specific band channels, like the Pearl Jam channel, I know like has exclusive shows and exclusive like songs that are on there that they release the single on XM first before you can get it on regular radio. So I mean, I'm sure Eddie and the guys get like a couple nickels from all that, but I always like hearing when he's like, "Is Eddie Vedder Sirius XM radio?" He's like, they had to like drag him into the studio to say that. He was so good. And he just sounds like, I don't want to be here.
Bryce, did you give your song as far as once it starts, can't stop?
No, I didn't. Disenchanted, My Chemical Romance off the Black Parade album.
Nice.
Great album, great tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
That's by far my favorite album, I think, of all time. Man. God, what a song. Yeah, I can't skip
Do those
that.
cats still like play anymore?
I'm gonna go see him in October. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw them 2 years ago.
I believe they are now called Dad Rock.
They are now Dad Rock. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Man, that hurts me. I tell you.
Bryce,
yeah.
come to my world. That Pearl Jam's in classic rock. So
right. I know. It's coming. It's coming soon. Yeah, I saw those guys. They had the When We Were Young festival.
Did you go to that?
Yeah, I was at that, and I'm going to it again in October. I love that festival. We went to year one. They canceled the first day. I don't know what it is with me and concerts that get canceled the first day because of weather. Because that happened with the Joe Bonamassa concert, right? So that day got canceled. Thankfully, I bought day 2 tickets. And what a great show that was. It was 60,000 people over the course of 10 a.m. to midnight.
What was the venue?
It was the Las Vegas Fairgrounds.
Okay.
So
was that a 1 day festival, or was that a tour at all?
Supposed to be a 2-day festival. Then they added, was 1 day. It turned into 2. Day 1 got canceled, and then they added a second day the following week. And it was kind of like this merging point. All these bands were on tours. Like My Chem announced a tour along with God, I'm trying to think of who else was touring around. Like The Used was out on tour, and then everybody kind of met. Paramore started a tour. So yeah, that's kind of it's so much fun. And last time we went, God, I hadn't seen some of those bands since like 2010. So it was really good. It was a great show, and yeah, that's really what made us buy tickets this year, because it was just unreal. But yeah, so to answer my song, Disenchanted. This is awesome. I love that song.
No, that's a great album, and the multiple people have asked to do that album on the show,
me included.
Yeah. But it's up there with there's certain albums that multiple people have tried to do. That's one of them. Hybrid Theory from Linkin Park is another one. And which having recently re-listened to Hybrid Theory, not to go into when I eventually have that conversation, but such a fantastic album. If you haven't listened to that one recently, it hits so hard right away and on all the right notes, and it's that's one of those albums that was perfect place, perfect time.
And there was I feel like a lot of those bands, like Linkin Park, My Chemical Romance, God, what's that, like I don't want to, not Good Charlotte, but kind of in that like pop punky realm, right around 2000.
I like Good Charlotte.
6. I love Good Charlotte. They just weren't one of the big.
Their first album is always on my short list of one that I think I mentioned it in my my animals episode with Alan. As far as just it's one of those. It may not be other people's best album, but it's one that's special to me. It was just an album I discovered myself by accident and loved the entire thing. You know, right at the right time in my early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the funny thing about, you know, how music does that, I think, to people. And I think that styles in certain time periods do that, you know, because like whoever might like, you know, Paramore might not like Flyleaf. But they're in that same like time period of rock and roll.
I haven't heard Flyleaf in a long time.
I love Flyleaf. God, they're great too.
Cassie, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had another song. I can't remember the name. There's some couple of YouTube videos out there when YouTube was new of just the girl from Flyleaf and their guitarist, acoustic, doing Flyleaf and then another track, and she is screaming, belting in harmony with herself, which is weird to say, but trust me, it's just that there's a passion there that you could really pull from what she's trying to sing. And that's even without even knowing the story of what Cassie's about, which is Columbine. And that was my intro to Flyleaf, was that acoustic little 2-person set, even before I knew what kind of a band they were.
Yeah.
So check those out if you haven't seen those.
I feel like I have a long time ago. I need to watch that.
It was when YouTube was new.
Yeah, it was like what?
Early 2000s.
Yeah, okay.
Well, no, not early. Mid to late 2000s, because it was when I moved to Georgia. So you're looking at 06, 07.
I'm writing that down so I don't forget that. That's a great thing. I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're still a band or what they're doing, because I think they really leaned hard into the Christian rock after a while.
Yeah, I think that sounds familiar for sure.
Which is not necessarily a death knell for a band, but it is as far as their mainstream success. That's not really
right.
That's
right.
You know.
Yeah.
What were your songs? Yeah. What were your songs, Steve? As far as Can't Turn Off.
Well, I mentioned Two Step, but recently, not even recently, I got to go back to Sheep from Animals. It's one of those where you hear that organ at the beginning of the song, and of the 3 long tracks on Animals, you know, dogs, pigs, and sheep. Sheep is the one you'll hear on the radio or anywhere, because it is the shortest of the 3.
Yeah.
So as far as a radio hit from Animals, Sheep is what you're going to get. But it's, as I mentioned in that episode, it's one that I didn't really. It was my lowest at the time when I loved Animals and discovered it. But as an old man, I'll say, I have a much bigger appreciation for Sheep with the way it progresses throughout the song and gets angrier and angrier and angrier. Bleeding and screaming. He steps on his neck with his heel. It's like that's, or with a squeal. It's just such angry lyrics, and the organ is amazing. And then you got David Gilmour, and it's just everything hits on Sheep, and I can't stop that song. Got to let it play. And you will hear that on deep tracks now and then.
We're doing songs that we don't turn off. But I think me and Steve talked about this a little bit on Messenger too. But what are like the most overplayed songs that you just turn off because you just can't hear that song?
Supertramp.
Jeremy.
Proud
Anything
Mary.
Supertramp.
Proud Mary. Oh.
From Creedence?
Yes.
Or from Ike and Tina?
Oh, I was like, man, I don't know if I turn off Tina Turner. She come through
the Creedence version of Proud Mary. Oh my god!
There are so many better Creedence songs than Proud Mary. I completely agree.
So many and why they keep playing that. And we talked about the Joker from Steve Miller. I'm so sick of that.
Yeah, Steve Miller Band. Anything from them, really. I
think they keep playing that Creedence song because he was kind of pissed. Like. I
don't know who said anything but you two on Facebook, but I agree.
but I think what it was is that John Fogerty, like, they mentioned to him that, you know, she was kind of taking that, like, when she covered it, Like,
because he wrote it, right? That was their
Yeah.
original. Yeah.
and then it was like, oh, she's getting a lot of play, and I think there's like possibility that he pushed the record company to push that song more, like their version.
They're still pushing it on us.
Which
I do like the Ike and
honestly,
Tina version where it's
that one
you know,
is
where it's slow and
that's-
they talk about it.
Yeah, when she
Yeah.
goes slow and then kicks it in, that's a better version of that song.
But I've
Like, you
heard that
can't be
here.
mad
I've
about
heard the
it.
Creedence version a million times more, along with
Mhm.
Bad Moon Rising.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like throw those two back in the vault somewhere and play.
Yeah.
I heard it through the grapevine again.
About Sweet Home
Onward
Alabama.
Riders.
Oh,
Sweet Home Alabama. I mean, I love Leonard Skinner. I love Leonard Skinner. I'll admit it, but I'm so sick of Sweet Home Alabama.
you're right. And living
Turn
in
it up,
Georgia,
man. Turn it up.
living in the South, it's unavoidable. But
Yeah.
I skip it whenever I possibly can.
I still always find it like comical about how Leonard Skinner like turned into this like super pro gun, Confederate band
Lay
when
back
like
my bullets.
yeah, but like he wrote those songs as like anti-gun songs, and then his fat brother decided to turn it and make it like pro guns. Like
that's definitely a great what if, as far as what would that
no, but
band.
he was those are anti-gun songs.
I agree. I mean,
He
and
wrote them.
then if you listen to the lyrics of like That Smell and the anti-drug, it's
anti-drug too.
the had that plane crash not happen, what would that band look like today? And
I still don't know if it would have turned this like. I mean, I'm not going to get political or anything, but like this rednecky.
Well,
they were always rednecky.
But I mean, they're a little more like.
No, you're right. They have really kind of
They've
leaned into the whole Southern by the
truckers.
grace of God thing.
Yeah, like that's
they have
like early Skinner's like drive-by truckers. Like they are from the South, but they are like, and Jason Isbell, like they're not like this right-wing agenda type stuff bands as they are. Like they were like, I mean, they weren't even pissed at Neil Young. It was kind of more tongue in cheek. Like, I hope Neil Young remember like Southern Man. And Neil Young played that fucking song with them, like live. Like, so they were all cool with each other about that. So that's one of those bands that like you never know what would have happened to them.
I think
if that plane crash never happens.
I think the Doors, Riders on the Storm. I'm skipping that.
Really?
I'm skipping that all day, every day. I cannot stand that song. I can't stand the Doors, man.
No.
How do I kick you out of here? Hold on.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I get that all the time too. Everybody's like, "Man, they're great." I'm like, "Are they though?" I mean, I can't. I
like the Doors when they're produced. When I've listened to a lot of Doors live, and it's, this is not good. I don't know what planet dude's on, Jim Morrison, but this is not good. but they're like the original version of Light My Fire. That's like 7 minutes long. Love it. I love that shit.
I always think of an Almost Famous when Philip Seymour Hoffman's character at the beginning, he's like, "Give me the Guess Who." He's a drunk that like he goes the Doors and he throws it and he's like, "Give me the Guess Who." That guy at least like leans into being like a good drunk or something like that.
Yeah, what's he say?
Like,
He's like a buffoon. He's a drunken buffoon or so. I don't know. He's called
and then he goes into Iggy Pop and the Stooges.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the Doors, I felt like I liked a lot more like in high school. Like I hear him now and I'll be like, I'm fine with him. But I could see it. Like it's just kind of like sometimes if you really sit and listen to it, it's kind of like drivel poetry. Like it's
if you get away from the produced hits, yes. But the produced hits, LA Woman, Light My Fire, Other Side.
Don't get me wrong, I love
those are great
great
songs.
song.
But once you get
those
into
are
the
good songs, but
once you get into the deep cuts and stuff, like the end, that's garbage. I'm sorry. The end is
well,
terrible.
and like, it really is blasphemy for me when you think about it, because I played the Whiskey A Go-Go. Like I've been in that room, I've been on that stage. Like I should have some
Did you face the
Yeah,
crowd?
there's other bands that played there.
Did it soak?
There
It didn't
was.
soak in. It didn't.
Did you
soak
face the
in.
crowd, or did you have your back turned to them?
No, I faced him. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
that
could
was,
see it.
yeah.
Like, I think, like, especially like guys like me and Steve age, like, I think you go through phases of like of artists that you kind of like, oh man, they're like life changing because it's like some of your parents might have not listened to. Like, my parents weren't big into the Doors or Pink Floyd or like some other things that came out like in the 70s and 60s. I got into them, and then I was just like, all right, that's good. But if I go back and look at some of those years, I was like, I'd still rather listen to Zeppelin and the Beatles and the Who, over like the Doors. Like, they have good songs. Their albums are kind of gibberish, but like the singles are very good. I mean, they produced them well. They pushed the songs out right. He was a good-looking guy. I mean, like, it was exactly how you think it. But to say like he's like a messiah or like some kind of like above everybody else, like, and like
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that except you.
And I agree, and that's why I stand by my. Okay, I was going to mention that when we were in high school, I think that's when that came out with Oliver Stone movie, The Doors, with Val Kilmer. Perfect time, because that's a great movie, and Val Kilmer really does.
Not even a real. That's Oliver Stone, dude. That ain't the Doors.
It doesn't matter. It's still a great movie.
But for like me and Steve had no idea.
Yeah,
like, we thought that was the Doors. Like,
this guy's anti everybody. He's so cool. He's Doug and you're Dad, and he's out of here. That was just the way they portrayed Jim Morrison, which could have been 100% true or 30% true. Don't know, but Val Kilmer was awesome in the role, and that and it showed, number one, his rise, but it showed his not just, it wasn't a decline, it was a cliff. I mean, he just went off the rails and started doing weird shit in the movie, and we took that as gospel of that's how Jim Morrison lived, ended, and then died. And man, those tunes were great in that movie. Let me go find those. Let me go root through Dad's albums and find those songs.
Yeah,
100%.
That's how it worked.
And Steve, I want to commend you on this state comment that you just made. And here's why.
Thank you.
I wish I was joking, but my wife and I just was talking to her about the state. And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I was showing the people in it. And she was like, she's like, she goes, "You watch this show?" I go, "Oh, my roommates in college hated me for it."
Oh, the state was phenomenal.
Oh,
one of the best comedy sketch shows ever made.
You know what I'm going to say, Steve. No, we don't. You know what I'm going to say. No, we don't. I'm going to dip my balls.
I want to dip my balls in it.
Sorry. For the people who are listening right now.
No clue what you're talking about.
There was
it's
a
an MTV
called The State on MTV. It was like late 90s.
The people that made Reno 911 and Wet Hot American Summer, before those TV shows and movie, they made The State, which was a sketch comedy show, kind of like Mad TV or SNL, and it was on MTV, and it was absolutely hilarious. It was completely absurd, and one of their characters was named Doug, and everything that he would come, he was a teenager that was all angsty and just anti-parents, and he would come into the room, and his dad would be like, "You need to stop doing blow and killing hookers." He's like, "You're just mad at me because I'm Doug and you're Dad, and I'm out of here."
Yeah,
that was his catchphrase, and it was just hilarious. And they had recurring things.
And so funny because I figured I knew you would. There was a whole skit about like in a record store, and they're like talking about like what albums you should own, and there was a whole thing, and I was trying to find it for my wife, like, and I. Oh yeah, Doug Little.
Nice.
But yes, The State. That's so funny.
I worked with a guy named Mike Jackson. So how would you like to have that name?
My kid's name is Bo Jackson.
Which is an awesome name.
Hey, little fun fact. I was all excited. I was going to say we're naming him Jackson. So my dad's name is John. People call him Jack. My mom and I and a lot of people call him Jackson. I was like, oh, I'm going to name my son Jackson. And my wife's like, I really like Bo as a name, not B-O, but B-E-A-U. And she's like, what do you think about Bo Jackson? And I said, what a great name. I think we should go with that. Now, my wife was born in 1990. She doesn't have two clues who Vincent Bo Jackson is. And I was like, you don't understand. I go, he's my favorite athlete of all time.
Did you show her, the picture with the pads and the
yeah.
the
Steven,
baseball
that's
bat?
funny that you say that because Tommy Cement made me. You probably won't be able to see it through here, but he had a picture of my kid, and he on a image thing put shoulder pads and a bat on him. So it's.
How old is Bo? 5-6 months now.
Bo is 4 months old. He will be 5 months at the end of March. So, I will say that my wife was, she didn't even care. It was great because her dad was getting all this stuff oh, Bo Jackson. Yeah, I thought your son-in-law was a White Sox or a Cubs fan. He played for the White Sox, and he's texting Marissa and Marissa goes, who the fuck is Bo Jackson? I go, oh. She goes, did you know who he was? I go, Marissa, everybody knows who Bo Jackson is.
Yeah, isn't he the guy that does the Nutrigenics commercials?
Is that what he does? He lives in the suburbs.
Him when Doug Flutie.
Oh.
Him and Doug Flutie are hawking the.
Oh, is that him or is that Frank Thomas?
Oh, you're right. It's Frank Thomas. Yeah.
I was like, because Bo actually goes fishes. He fishes and hunts down in the Illinois Valley.
Really?
Yeah, he lives in the suburbs.
Bo Jackson does?
Yeah.
No shit.
Vincent Bo Jackson.
Huh.
So, yeah.
What was it? It was a football injury that ended him, right?
Yeah, it was a playoff game, and they said if he wasn't so strong and so fast, he would have never hurt himself like that. He was just his bone, his hip dislocated because he was so fast and strong that his body broke underneath him because he was that way.
Instagram makes sure that at least once a week, someone puts the reel out there of him, throwing a cannon from the outfield to home plate and just, throwing someone out well before any human should have been thrown out. So he had a hell of a cannon on him.
I mean, how many commercials that just talk about him as a video game character?
Oh yeah.
The greatest video game sports character of all time. I think that was a Toyota commercial.
All right, so Alan has some good questions in his back pocket. I'm gonna throw to him while I go grab.
Oh, you want me to throw some of those out? Let me throw one out. I have.
These are unprepared. No one's seen these but me, and I didn't prepare either.
What is your favorite Celine Dion song?
Let's go.
Celine Dion.
Yeah.
Let's go with.
Who is your favorite Backstreet Boy?
This one's really broad. How has music affected your life?
Discuss amongst yourselves.
Jesus.
Is that too broad? You want me to do an easier one?
I was like, Bryce has got a real long answer for that.
Dude, I mean, you can't see it, but it's just everywhere in here, man. It is literally my life.
Yeah.
I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I was like, what would I do if I didn't do this? What would be the thing? And she's like, I have no idea. I have no idea. That's all you do. I'm like, I know. It's my job. It's my hobby. It's music ruined me. Crew killed every hope of having a normal life with a 9 to 5. That was gone years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Mike.
Yeah, anytime you ask anybody who's like an actual musician, like they always have a better answer than me. Like, well, honestly, I wouldn't have all these cool posters up here, or I wouldn't have this sweet Soundgarden T-shirt. But for me, I mean, I think I said it in my thing. Like, music is the only time machine that we have. Like, anytime you put on a record, to me, it's like, because they always say that the sense of smell is like the one that can take you back the best. But I don't know, man. Like, I feel like hearing a song can take you back to like at any time of your life, and sometimes even before. Like, I feel like if I listen to like, Led Zeppelin 3 or something, it's like in my mind, I could feel like I'm like back in 1970, even though I've never lived in it. That's it. Just, and if it's quiet, it's unnerving if I'm not listening to music. So I don't know how people don't. That's what I never understood.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Some people don't. It's not even a thing. I mean, it's not even on their radar. They could care less if a song is on or a radio is on or they buy an album. I don't understand it.
So weird.
I don't get it.
I don't.
Yeah.
So Steve, I threw out how has music affected your life? That was the one I threw out first.
It's a good question, and it makes me take a step back and think, what if I didn't have the music and the over the years from childhood, high school, and beyond. If I didn't have it, how would things have panned out? And it's first and foremost, it was a way of, as one Facebook user mentioned, as far as time travel, a way of connecting with my dad and really enjoying the music that he provided to me. Whether that's Jackson Browne and the Eagles and John Mellencamp and other bands of that nature. But then I wasn't the most angsty teen. I mean, Illinois Valley is the Illinois Valley. It's not the most stressful place in the world. So, half the school's out because it's the first day of deer season. No one cares. And so it wasn't exactly a stressful high school, couple of years, but it was an amazing couple of years for music, because Mike and I don't know how old you are, Bryce, but Mike and I, our 4 years of high school was 94 to 98. Phenomenal time of music and music discovery. I mean, that is just, you talk about a sweet spot. That's like someone going through high school in the early 70s. It's just so much good music was right then and there. And half the time you didn't even realize it. You're listening to a legendary album, but you don't realize it yet. And then you get into adulthood and you're listening to the stuff that you listened to in high school, plus all this new music in the 2000s that was at the time still good. I'll yell at my old man cloud now, but at the time, the 2000s were almost as good, but not quite as the 90s. It went downhill after that.
Rock and roll kind of disappeared.
Yeah, rock and roll is kind of, we're counting on Bryce to bring it back. And without all that, I will say without music, I wouldn't have got through the Army. Let me start there. Yeah, music in the Army, I'm not going to say it's like Vietnam, but it reminded me a lot of the movies you see about Vietnam, where there's people gathered around listening to music. That's exactly what happens in the barracks. It's exactly what happens in the field. It's exactly what happens overseas in the middle of the desert. People are listening to the tunes of the day, or they're listening to what they listened to in high school. You're going to hear more Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and Led Zeppelin overseas than you are newer rock music. Just a fact.
So I was going to say this wasn't on my list, Steve, but I've asked people this before. It's probably obvious with this group, but I've asked people before, if something unfortunate happened and you could choose to lose your sight or your hearing, which one would it be?
Sight all day.
Yeah, exactly. That's, and I figured
Because then you
that was
don't know if you're
obvious.
ugly or not. Or you could be like
I don't know. I work in IT. It's hard for me to answer.
Yeah.
or
If
you
I
could be
couldn't listen to it'd be sight.
Charles.
There aren't too many
Yes.
blind network managers out there. Sorry. But you're always gonna you've got your Stevie Wonders and Ray Charles and Jeff Haley's out there that create great music, but blind.
Yep.
But
Yep.
My day job, I don't know if I could do that.
Oh no, I mean I couldn't do mine either. I need to be able to see, but
If I was a self-sustaining wealthy man who didn't need to work, then I'd probably be right there with you. I'd probably say, let the eyesight go so I can continue to hear my friends, family, and music.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to make money. So that's
Right.
well,
You want me
there's
to throw another one of these out there, or you got something else?
No, keep going with the
You want another
philosophical
one?
questions. These are great.
Well, how about at what age do you remember being aware of the music around you? Like at what age? For me, it would be like 5 or 6. But
Thriller.
at what age?
I was thinking the same thing, Mike.
I was
Thriller.
Because I don't know. I know it came out in '83, but to me is like
Thriller and Van Halen 1984 are the
yeah.
two
the
real
Thriller music video.
and to me it's the album covers are in conjunction with playing the music, and it's Thriller in 1984 were really the first things that I remember being, outside of my Fisher Price radio player playing Puff the Magic Dragon
Or the Beatles, or the Beatles,
the Beatles weren't even on my radar yet, but those two albums were the first
my
things.
parents always played them, and I feel like it was just always like in the house. Like music was always in the house, like so that's why I know I was saying to my wife, I'm like, I don't care what has to happen, but
that's one of my other questions too. That was one of my other questions I had on here too. Like, was music always on at your house when you were growing up?
Yeah, we always had a record player going, and I could probably tell you what, I could probably still hear my mom's voice going, "Why are you quit running around? You're skipping the needle." And then the funny story is I have a record player and I've had it for a long time. And when I started dating my wife, the first day I was playing, first time she came over or something, I was playing the record, and she comes lumbering around and knocks it, and she goes, skips it, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know it did that." And I was like, "Yeah." I go, "Did you not grow up?" I forgot you didn't grow up with records. I go, "They skip not like CDs do. You they are way more sensitive. That needle's way more sensitive than the laser." And I will say, yeah, music's always been around, and it's when I cook dinner and stuff, or we getting dinner we're getting dinner or breakfast or in the weekends and stuff. There's always a record playing or some kind of stuff, as I want my kid to be how it was when I was growing up. Always music around, always just have that sound. I want him to know everything. I know a lot of different music. My CD collection was immense until I stopped buying them. And my vinyl is, I could the other night I went and saw Zach Bryan, but I'm also going to see Third Eye Blind this summer, and then Pearl Jam again for the 8th time in 3 years. But it's got to be there. Music is so important. It's I'm looking around because I'm in his room right now. So he doesn't sleep in here yet, but I look at all the books, and we have those little gold books. Remember, I don't know, Steve, remember as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
they have band books now. We have a Beatles.
Yeah,
one.
my daughter has the Taylor Swift one.
Yeah, which I think that's awesome. To tell the stories of bands. The Beatles one's really cool. I was like, oh, I think they skipped a little bit up about Yoko and everything, but it's it got pretty close. and they didn't like say how the ending really went for the Beatles, but yeah, music around has to. It's almost like air. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't play an instrument. I wish I did, but I have small hands, smell like cabbage, so I can't play guitar or anything. But that's my thought.
Bryce, what about you? Do you remember a specific age that you were?
I started looking because I was like, for me, it was kind of on the boat at the lake. That was kind of the first like memory of it, and it was definitely older Clapton. I know, like in my episode, I spoke a lot about how my dad was on to Clapton for a very long time, and so it was kind of like the timepieces era, like mid to late 70s, something like that. And it was kind of like all of his hits, and so that was kind of the beginning of that. But the one album that I really remember was Clapton Chronicles. Because that one had like My Father's Eyes and Tears in Heaven. And just shortly after that, like 2001, up to December 31st, my grandpa committed suicide. And so that album was very emotional to my dad, but it was also very emotional kind of to the whole family, because like that's not a happy album by any means. But yeah, that album, I love that album.
So music was on. Was it always on at your house? Music? Yeah.
I want to say yes. Definitely during, social get-togethers and like
driving to school or something like that, or going someplace. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Same here.
My dad used to say as we were driving down the road, we listened to 100.9 or 105.7 there in the Illinois Valley, and a song would be playing, and he would turn it down, and he would ask me, "Who's singing?"
My dad would do that. Yeah.
What album? Who's the guitarist? If the more questions I would get right, the more he would dig in, until finally he'd be like, "Who's the drummer?" And I'd be like, "Blah blah blah," and then he'd be like, "I don't know either." So, we get to the point of neither of us knowing, and it was always a cool thing to do whenever he was able to. He would only do it on songs he knew. If I did it to him, I can't put it back on him.
In front of the kid. I do that with Marissa all the time. I'm like, "Hey, so who is this?" And she says it, and then it's kind of funny. I hope she doesn't listen to it because I'm gonna throw her under the bus real quick. But the Eagles played last night in Chicago, and she was super bummed that she didn't go. And we went and saw them. Like, it was our first concert together we ever went to. And we saw the Eagles. And I'm like, I saw my buddy went though, and he sent a picture, and Don Henley wasn't behind the drum kit. And I said, that's so weird that Don wasn't behind the drum kit. I go, I would rather, when we saw him, he was. And she goes, "Why would he be behind the drum kit?" And I go, "He's the drummer of the Eagles." She goes, "Really?" I go, she goes, "I thought he was the lead singer." And I said, "He is the lead singer." I go, "But he's also the drummer." I was like, it's kind of famous that he does that, that he's that good of a singer. I mean,
wait till she learns about Genesis.
Oh, fuck Phil Collins. Get out of here. She should have just stayed being a drummer. Like, there's no, like, once Peter Gabriel left that band, they should have just ended that band.
Oh, I disagree. I like
no. Two different eras, and they both produce some good music, I think.
There's one good song, Land of Confusion, only because of the video. That video is one of the best.
Did you ever see the video for "I Wish It Would Rain"
by
Phil Collins?
No, because I don't like Phil Collins.
It's a great video, and Eric Clapton does a solo in that song, and the video itself has a band playing, and they're the dad from Arrested Development, the old bald guy. Can you picture him? Yeah.
Oh,
he's the director of this band, whatever they're doing, and the singer walks off stage. So he's all pissed off. Well, what am I going to do now? I don't have a singer. And Eric Clapton is the guitarist, and he's like, hey, drummer can sing. He's like, drummer? We have a drummer? It's like, who the hell's a drummer? It's like, yeah, Phil back there. He's a good singer. It's like, then why is he? Then if he's a good singer, why is he playing drums? You know, it's
all wrong.
Very, very comedic intro, and then Phil Collins steps up and he sings "I Wish It Would Rain." Great tune. Eric Clapton does his solo, and at the very end of the video, the director's like, "That was terrible."
Jeffrey Tambor.
That's him. Yep. At the end of the video, he's like, "It was terrible. Get the hell out of here. Go back to drumming." So. Fun video.
Steve, I wish, like, one of these days, if you have my brother on the show, for his album, like, pick or something, I want you to, like, start it off playing, like, any Phil Collins song. He hates Phil Collins with a fiery passion that I've never, like, we like, I think his wife bought him, like, a Phil Collins t-shirt for his birthday just for fun. And here's this is a great story, and I hate to like kind of make fun of my old man, but so my cousin Danny's sister's getting married in Colorado at the end of April, and I said, oh, well, we're gonna go after the wedding in Manitou Springs, we're gonna go up to Denver, and then we're gonna go up to Fort Collins, because I haven't been up there since I used to audit up there, and they have great beer up there, and that's where New Belgium and everything's at. Mm-hmm. And my dad was telling my mom, my dad was telling my mom, I don't understand. I thought Michael didn't like Phil Collins. He said he's gonna go to Colorado to see Phil Collins. And my mom goes, no, we're going to Fort Collins. Like, that's not Phil Collins. We're going to Fort Collins. And my dad's like, oh, he said Phil Collins at Red Rocks. She's like, no, we're going to go to Red Rocks just to see it, and then we're going to go to Fort Collins.
So
he's like,
Phil Collins got to be. I think he's wheelchair bound now. He's
he can't play drums.
Was looking bad.
Yeah.
Not
his
good.
son was playing drums for his tour the last time.
I don't think he ever really publicly recovered from South Park. Yeah. I don't know if you caught those episodes where Phil Collins goes up on stage and he's holding his Oscar and he's just like, and the crowd would cheer. It was great. It's hilarious.
Which is surprising because of The Hangover. He should have gotten a lot of thumbs up for Mike Tyson's punch.
So it sounded like everybody's dads influenced their musical taste. So has anybody ever turned their dads on to the music that they'd never heard before? Other way around?
My dad always seems to think that everything is Green Day. Like, if I show him something like, I could show him like
there's a sound
like Paramore, right? Like Paramore. Yeah. Is this Green Day? No, Dad.
Yeah, my old man stopped listening to music like the bands that he likes. I think like his newest band might have been like in the 80s. Like he does not like anything from grunge. He doesn't like any of that. But it was funny because when I was a kid, my mom was like, she wasn't a huge fan of it, but now she's like, kind of like Pearl Jam and Nirvana, and like I like the sound of those guys. Like that was good stuff. Like she goes, I go, what about Dad? And she's like, oh, your dad. It's not. I guess it's not the best of bread, but it's all right. Which is worse. That's a band that's worse than Genesis.
Oh, they're horrible. I cannot stand bread.
Is that the album that Columbia House gave out for free to everybody?
Yeah, I think I'm not joking. I think my dad has like 17 versions of that on vinyl. I think they just kept bringing like, oh shit, we had extras, so we shipped it on the Columbia House record company.
My dad, to his credit, he after my brother Tony and I went to the first Bonnaroo in 2008 together, he's like, I want to go. Like, really? Like, He's like, yeah. I mean, we were just raving about it. We were at that first Bonnaroo. We were front row for BB King and Government Mule, and just it was a fantastic show. And he's like, I want to go. So, Dad, comes right along, camping right along with us for 4 days of peace, love, and music and art. And he didn't stay up till 4 a.m. for Kanye, but he did the best he could. But he, to his credit, he went to a lot of different shows, and he stood with us with the Black Keys and Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, several really, really great bands that we were seeing for the first time and he was seeing for the first time, and he really kind of took to a lot of them. Now, granted, mixed in was also your Greg Allmans, your Alice Coopers, Willie Nelson, all kinds of other ones. He would go to Beastie Boys. He stood with us for the Beastie Boys as a headliner, and he enjoyed it. He's like, and he'll be the first to tell you, like, he's not going to go out and buy their album, but he enjoyed the show. They played their own instruments. They put on a hell of a fucking show, and it was just an all around great time. And then he'll also tell you that, a year later, because he went to 3 of them with us, the year later, he was like Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was kind of boring.
They are boring live.
They kind of phoned it in. So
that's what I thought. I thought the same thing about them at Lollapalooza. And I know Luke's a big fan of them. But
we could talk trash about Red Hot Chili Peppers because Luke's not here. It's your fault, Luke.
They did phone it in. And I was like, Flea's so good as a bass player. I mean, I think their lyrics are childish, but like
I expected more. I don't know. They
California.
They were a bit on a pedestal as far as this great live band, and I expected a bit. Previous year Beastie Boys crushed it, and I had low expectations for the Beastie Boys. I didn't have any expectations. I didn't really know what to expect, and they were just phenomenal. And then Red Hot Chili Peppers, known as this great live band, it was yay. Just nothing really.
He didn't address the crowd when I was there, and he was just kind of was. I don't know. I thought they were boring. I felt the same way. And like, Tommy Cement was with me. He's a buddy of mine from the Illinois Valley, and he's like pretty excited about the Chili Peppers. And we were walking to the train after the show because this is Grant Park Lollapalooza in Chicago, and he was just like, "What'd you think?" I'm like, "I don't know, it's kind of lame, weren't they?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I was pretty pumped. Like, I was expecting like a really like cool show." And he goes, "That band that we saw at like 3:00, like in the woods part of like Grant Park, was better." I can't remember who the band name was, but like we just happened while we were walking by, and for 35 minutes they were awesome. And these guys were like a snooze fest. Yeah, that I would say, like, if there's that's a question. What was a band that you went and saw and you were like, "What the fuck? I thought these guys were gonna be way better." Like
Tool,
Well, to be fair, anybody who plays in Hawaii,
I know that is the core of my problem. Any band that plays Hawaii, that's a headliner. They put on a half-ass show to pay for their vacation, and then they don't give a rat's ass. That was Metallica. That was Tool. It was just, I mean, Metallica I had seen in '98, and they put on one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. And then I see them in '99 in Hawaii, and it was one of the most god-awful shows I've ever seen. Less than a year later. It was just like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, like, how is that the same band? Like, it's got to be just Hawaii.
It is. And then Tool, they played on the UH campus. I think I've told this story before. And there was no alcohol on the UH campus. Unbelievable. I mean, people were just,
Was it in the football stadium?
No, it was in their auditorium version thing. But
now they can drink and all that stuff, though. It's up to the campus.
But I mean, people were just shotgunning, Bush Light talls outside the door because they thought they could bring them all in. It was ridiculous. But number one, just say no alcohol. But two, it was just so lackluster. They did a 20-minute bass solo for a Lateralis song, and in the middle of it, Maynard turned around and was playing PlayStation on stage for 20 minutes. I mean, people were looking at each other like, "Is the show over? What are we supposed to do?" I guess I could go to the No, bathroom lines are really long. I'll go get a beer. Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
that's
I can't get a beer. What are we supposed to do?
Oh man!
And so people just left. It was terrible.
I'm not a huge
And Steve, I've
fan
seen
of
them like
Tool.
4 times, and every
So-
time I've seen them, they've been.
I was
really
so
good.
pumped for that show. Everybody was.
Yeah.
It was just a huge disappointment.
A lot of times, college campus shows like are hit or miss. Like, I think a lot of that depends on if the campus is like a fun campus or there's like bars by the
Like-
event center. Now you can drink at a lot of them.
Well,
but
6
back
months
in the day,
later,
you couldn't.
a few miles away, I saw what was called the Great Hawaiian Smokeout. It was sponsored by Dare, headlined by Cypress Hill, No Effects, and Pennywise. Sponsored by Dare. It was fantastic. I mean, you had Cypress Hill doing a 10-12 minute version of War Pigs. It was great.
I think they have very good weed in Hawaii, though, Steve. So maybe that's
Sponsored by Dare. I mean, Cypress Hill performing in front of a great big sign that said "Dare" to keep kids off drugs. It was fantastic.
That's weird.
That was the first time I heard Pennywise too, and they won me over. They were great. They were like, say, one of the best on the whole set.
I actually, Steve, it's funny you talk about Dare. I have a Rage Against the Machine shirt that I bought from the show, and it's a Dare shirt, but it's Rage Against the Machine.
The Rage acronym.
Yeah. And I wear that all the time. I'm like, I'm cool. Old man.
Rage with the Machine.
Yeah. I've read a lot of those books from that second album that were in there. So
And also a side one is Bob Dylan. Sorry, it was a bad show.
I cannot stand Bob Dylan, so I believe that.
I will say
he sang stuff off his new album and he mumbled most of it, and people were all looking at their phones for 2 hours.
That's what I expect. Yeah.
what I will say. So we were talking about live records before, and Rolling Thunder Review, the bootleg for Dylan, is to me one of the best live records of all time. Like, he does a lot of his slower songs, but with like a full band. I mean, because remember, like,
is it the band?
No, it's not the band. It was after the Rolling Thunder Review is the band after the band. So yeah, he used to when he was Electric, like he was like rocking. Like when he just got divorced, like that is like the stuff, like that's the good Dylan. Like to me, that's just a fun Dylan, like the rock and roll Dylan. Like when I think his wife her name was Sarah. That's Wallflower's mom.
Jacob Dylan. Okay,
yeah, that's his mom. That's why he's so good looking, because his mom's a model. So, but I will say, Rolling Thunder Review, I think it's like bootleg 6 or 7. It's like him with like face paint on or something. Like that is, even if you don't like acoustic Dylan, that is like his rock Dylan is good stuff. I know we got off topic about some stuff, but like that's like one of my favorite.
What year was that?
It was
about
mid 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah,
mid 70s. I think I saw that. There's a documentary or something, right? Or there's a.
Yeah, I think Scorsese has it on Netflix.
I watched that or some of that. Yeah,
but that's a good. I mean, he's got like bootleg 1,000 now, and like it's him like farting in a microphone for half of it. But like,
I ain't farting on no snare drum.
I mean, you think about how many songs he wrote. Like, they all can't win. They all can't win if you write that many songs.
If you watch the documentary that they made while doing the Traveling Wilburys first album, they talk about that, how you can't write as many songs as we all do and expect them all to be just glorious. You know, because one of the songs that they wrote on that volume 1 for the Wilburys was literally them flipping through the newspaper and, you know, I'll be your transmission. I'll keep it clean. You know, they're just reading the ads, and they wrote a song to it. That's volume 3.
So they were ripping off like when John Lennon did For the Benefit of Mr. Kite, then that's that song.
Yeah,
He got all that
'cause
from
yeah.
a poster. Everything in that song is from the poster. Doing cartwheels with or blah 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 or what.
The Hendersons will all be there.
Yep.
But they actually talk about it. Like, will this sound good? They're like, it doesn't matter. We write so many songs, they can't all be great.
No, and that's what's great is my old man loves the Wilburys. Absolutely loves them.
I do too. I appreciate their honesty on it.
Just like Dylan, Tom Petty.
I think Dylan had, other than Tweeter and the Monkey Man, had the least amount to do with that album.
Especially the first, like he was not in the second one at all, was he?
No, Roy Orbison wasn't on the second one because he was kind of dead.
He was kind of dead. And technically the second one is Full Moon Fever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because all those guys played on Petty's record with him.
They all played on it. Roy Orbison obviously not so much, but he was kind of dead. But and then Jeff Lynne was the producer for Full Moon Fever, I think.
This guy here is dead. Cross him off the list then. Hey, I'm just getting everybody ready for baseball season with that quote. So,
well, Roy Orbison's another one that is a really fun catalog to dive into if you've never done it before.
I think you gotta like his voice though, because
true, yeah, but he's got a voice for the ages, and maybe
it's a voice that I could listen.
It's not
like
one that's appreciated when you're young. I think you need to be a little older to be like, man, this guy can really sing.
I don't know. That was another one that my dad really listened to a lot when I was a kid. And man, yeah, I fell in love with him early. I'm not so much anymore. I mean, now I hear it and I'm just like, I've heard Pretty Woman about 1,000 times.
Have you watched the Black and White concert, Bryce?
I don't think so.
Go to YouTube. It's all on there. The Black and White concert for Roy Orbison. And in his band, you've got Elvis Costello, Bruce Springsteen, Jackson Brown. That's his band, the backup band. I think Ringo's in there, and it's just Roy doing his greats. Only the Lonely, Ooby Dooby, and a bunch of other songs that I didn't really know. But it's just a great watch of just Roy Orbison. I think this was done in the early '90s before he declined. But it was just a really good show. I would have loved to have been at that.
Yeah, I enjoy that guy.
Yeah, I think this is Doug saying this, but yeah, Roy Orbison's song with the Traveling Wilburys, his part just gave me chills. Absolutely. He's got a great tune. Nobody's Child is another one that's on there that's just highlights his vocals. I love the Wilburys. It's a great super group. That's a great question. What are your favorite super groups? I would easily put the Wilburys up there, and then like the Blind Faith mentioned earlier is
them Crooked Vultures.
Them Crooked Vultures, yeah.
Them Crooked Vultures. I saw live, and I never got to see Nirvana live, and I never got to see Led Zeppelin live, but I got to see one of the greatest bass players of all time play, and one of the greatest drummers of all time play. And they didn't play any of their shit, but I got to see those guys just play live. It was Damn Yankees. Oh yeah, Hey, Ted Nugent deflecting bullets with his guitar in the video. That alone,
that video is fantastic for high enough.
Fucking video.
That is a great video.
Bad shit. It is.
Have you guys
bad shit?
If you watch it, if you watch it on pop-up video, it's great.
Have you ever heard Chicken Foot?
Yeah. Oh, it's with Michael Anthony Hall and
Joe Satriani and
Sammy Hagar.
Sammy Hagar, yeah. Soap on a Rope, man. Woo! Those guys are great. That one and the one we brought up earlier, Black Country Communion. That's another super group that I love that group. Those guys.
That's the Joe Bonamassa one.
Yeah, Joe Bonamassa, Glenn Hughes. What is that guy's name? The drummer. He's I should know this. Who drummed for Led Zeppelin? John Bonham. So Jason Bonham.
John Bonham.
Jason Bonham, his son.
Oh, Jason's drummer.
Yeah.
Honestly, you guys ever see that documentary, Drummer? I saw it on a flight.
Yes. I think I've seen
like
this.
Jason Bonham and Phil Collins' kid and the guy from the Grateful Dead, the one with the longer name. Actually, both guys. And they just talk about and then they talk to Ringo Starr at the end and how they all like emulate like how Ringo did it. That was a pretty cool documentary. Like, man, for supergroups though, like, does Temple of the Dog count?
Temple of the Dog.
That's
From
Pearl Jam and Soundgarden.
Oh. I mean, it could. Soundgarden was great, and so is Pearl Jam.
But it wasn't.
Pearl Jam's great band too.
But it wasn't. I mean, no one ever thought, because this was before Pearl Jam came out. That record did. That's what the magic of, marketing is. 10 was released. 10 Bad Motorfinger and the Temple of the Dog record was released before Nevermind, and then Nevermind made like everything cool, so they released all these out like the videos after the fact. So as a 11-year-old 11 12-year-old kid in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, you thought that the guys from Pearl Jam and Soundgarden got a group together and made this song after the fact, and in fact they recorded all that.
You must be talking Temple of the Dog.
Done. Yeah, but that's not a super group because it wasn't like Pearl Jam wasn't even
it's a pre super group.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Learn something new every day.
Hold on, here we go.
But did you mention Audio Slave?
The more you know.
Audio Slave is fucking Audio Slave for those 3 records. Honestly, anything Chris Cornell sings on, he could sing the Phone Book and it would be, amazing.
Yeah.
And though I have more appreciation for Chris Cornell in the last I've been with my wife since 2017, and she absolutely loves Chris Cornell, and I always liked Soundgarden and Audio Slave, and I've seen them both live, and she was like, but she like got me. She like it's almost like she got me into Chris Cornell like more, and like every year I buy her like a new Chris Cornell shirt, like she's like, nobody sings like that guy. Nobody kits like nobody is like him. And
he's got a Freddie Mercury voice that's never going to be repeated.
Yeah.
I think I might have said it in mine, Steve. Like he's like I always thought like Soundgarden was close to Zeppelin. Like they're a little harder, but Chris can do every Led Zeppelin song. Like he could sit down and sing all of those songs. And
I hate to say this, I couldn't name you the rest of Soundgarden.
No, Matt Cameron's the drummer, but he's also the drummer for Pearl Jam. Like he's been the drummer for Pearl Jam longer.
But Pearl Jam, I can name you, say Mike McCready, and just there's I know names.
Kim Thiles, the guitar player, Ben Shepherd's the bass player.
I hate to say it, but at Soundgarden, I don't know the rest.
But what I'm saying, it's almost more like Cornell. Like Cornell is covered like "Thank You" by Zeppelin, and when you hear him sing that song, you're like, I think Chris Cornell could have like walked in the 70s and been the lead singer of like Led Zeppelin.
In that vein, yes, I could see that. I mean? Like I could see him fronting Zeppelin. I could see him fronting the Doors. I could see him doing a lot of those types of bands. Yeah. And I would put Cornell on that pedestal with Robert Plant, with Roger Daltrey, and the other great singers, say Freddie Mercury of that era. I would put Cornell in that group. If you were to build a Rushmore of great rock singers, I cannot not put Cornell up there.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying is like I always thought that, but I was like, maybe I'm thinking it wrong. And then I heard him sing "Thank You," and I was like, holy fuck! Like, man, it's like if Robert Plant like decided to keep like doing Zeppelin type sound,
Mhm.
You know, that's what it is, because he went and did his Americana stuff with Alison Cross and did all that, because he can't hit those things. You have to like grab your,
And credit to
you
him
have to
for
make sure.
admitting that he can't hit it anymore.
No, right. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to wear real tight pants to hit those notes, I think, if you're him. And he wore them in the 70s, you know. You could see everything. And but you know, like Cornell could just do it, and it just looked effortless with the way Cornell did it. Like I just, like, if you look at the Sirius XM like stuff of him, like doing acoustic songs of doing like Nothing Compares to You and
Billie Jean.
Billie Jean and
That
all
Billie
that,
Jean
like,
cover was something else.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's wild. He's doing Billie Jean. He's fucking like Chris Cornell, man. The guy was the drummer of Soundgarden to start out.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
he
if
didn't- he
it
wasn't
just imagine, you say, Bryce, if you're just interviewing guys or whatever, you come across a guy that can sing like that. What do you do? Like that's
You
like
hire him.
yeah, that's like a once in a lifetime voice.
You
Like,
know?
it's just so.
Yeah,
It's-
But
that's
his
all you
voice
can
wasn't
do.
even there. It was his band as the drummer, and the lead singer walked out, and he was like, "Well, fuck, I'll try it."
He was the
And the
drummer.
reason, he was the
No
drummer
shit.
of Soundgarden. My
I
wife,
didn't know that.
yeah. There's a book called Total Fucking Godhead, and it's like it's not the autobiography, because he didn't make it to the end.
It's fun. Well, it's funny you mentioned that word, because in Steve Rosen's episode about when he was talking about Eddie Van Halen and stuff, the person that introduced him to Eddie Van Halen called him the Godhead. So apparently it was just an industry term of,
That's a thing, yeah.
yeah. This is one of the greats, whether you realize it or not.
Right. And I will say, like, honestly, out of all the Soundgarden songs and all that stuff, just Seasons off of the singles record by Chris Cornell by himself is perfection as a song by Chris. But that's for me. Just my opinion.
To throw a disappointment out there, though, Velvet Revolver was a bit of a letdown. Had all the potential.
It was too much drugs. It was too much drugs.
Yep.
I can only imagine the amount of drugs in that. I mean, it had all the potential in the world, and that just straight nosedive.
I never liked that.
Scott had
band.
problems, man, and Scott Weiland should have not been with guys from Guns N' Roses. Like, that's like Dave Mustaine.
Recipe for disaster, if there ever was one.
That's like Mustaine getting kicked out of Metallica. Hey, you drink too much, so we're gonna have to have you walk out of the. I'm sorry, didn't I see you just drink a keg of beer, Lars, the other day? Yeah, but you drink way too much for us.
Worked out well for Dave.
Yeah, but it's Metallica. It ain't Metallica, man. Like, and I will say this, and I know, Bryce, you're a guitar player, so you probably know better than I do. I gotta say Dave's a better guitar player than Kirk Hammett, but I don't know. Feel like he is.
Hot take on Metallica. They suck. So.
Oh. Wait. Which era? I mean, there's a lot of.
You're not talking about the first four.
All of it. All of it.
Oh, no.
Every bit of it. Yep. Every bit of it. I cannot stand that band. Like, as businessmen, they're brilliant. The things that those guys did when they were up and coming, they were trying to figure out a way to make money, and so they were like, you know what? Let's get cups printed with Metallica on it, and we're going to take these in to the venue and say, hey, you can keep you can keep the bar percentage that you would usually give us, but they have to be in our cup if you want us to play here. And so they charged everybody $2 to take the cup home. And that's part of how they've become one of the highest grossing bands in rock and roll. Like, that idea kind of carried throughout their whole career.
But musically, you're saying that like Master of Puppets and Justice for All are not
all
great.
Of it, man.
Oh my goodness. Man, it's too bad Rick Hansen's not on here.
Man, those first four records are like, I don't know if you can't start off a career that much better than those first four. I mean, I like the Black Album.
Kill 'Em All is not my thing. That's a little too raw for me.
It's really thrashy. It's very thrashy.
But Ride the Lightning through the Black Album, those 4 albums to me are phenomenal. I mean,
it's not load and reload.
That's where it stops for me. I mean, but from say Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, and Justice for All and the Black Album, that evolution of a band is excellent. There are some duds in there, but you're talking high highs, with Fade.
Honestly, Steve, the duds in my mind are like Enter Sandman, or Unforgiven. Like those are duds to me because I think, if you're gonna say duds, like that's what I'm just saying. Like you give me like those 4 records, and I would probably put those songs towards the end because I'd rather hear like Leper Messiah and Master and Ride the Lightning. I'd rather hear like their thrashy stuff. Like, I mean, of Wolf and Men, I think that's the name of it from the Black one, or something like that.
The Black those 4 that I mentioned, the Black Album is what I've actually listened to the least.
That was the first CD I ever bought at a. It still had the hard, like the cardboard case. The long one,
like
the long cardboard case. I remember I bought that at Musicland, like 11 years old. Like, and they sold that one to me, but they wouldn't sell me Doggy Style. So weird. 94.
But I mean, like say with Orion, Call of Cthulhu, and those instrumental amazing tracks, and then not to mention the album starters, Battery, Blackened. I mean, just there's. Man, that stretch. Now,
Bryce,
granted,
Bryce, did you play sports in high school at all? Okay, because I think a lot of it has to do with like Steve. I think a lot of that has, in my mind, like I got into Metallica more, like because for sports get you.
So you did play the song "One" before every football game, yes, and along with a Rage song. I can't remember which one.
To be fair, One was there when I was up as a sophomore, like for the playoffs. So like I just continued them playing One. Like had I known of Slayer, and
I wasn't good enough to be on varsity at that point. You were, so yeah, rub it in.
I mean, had I known of like,
I'm still bitter. Yeah,
Slayer,
go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think I would have had more Slayer involved, but
that's my thing. There's so many better thrash bands.
The Four Horsemen.
But when you get into thrash bands, to me, you lose a lot of musical talent.
That's my opinion, though.
The dual guitar harmony, I love that. When you get into those solos, which is why Saint Anger is absolute gutter trash with no solos. It's the guitar. And I'm sorry, Lars is a
trash
rock drummer. He is
total
not
trash.
He's not the great rock drummer
God.
some people say. Yeah, I'm with
he
you on
likes
that
the
one.
snare drum.
Yeah, but it's to me it's the dual guitar harmonies when it's almost like the metal version of Leonard Skinner with their dual guitar harmonies. I love.
I don't know. I mean, you need to go listen to Trivium because that will blow your mind.
I have no idea what that is. What's Trivium?
Trivium? Okay, go listen to Trivium. Go listen to Ascendancy, that album. Be prepared because it's thrash, but man, they're Berkeley musicians, and Matt Heffy is such an amazing vocalist and such an amazing guitarist. And yeah, I would highly recommend like Light to the Flies and A Gunshot to the Head of Trepidation. Those 2 songs.
Wait.
You're gonna
a gunshot to the head of trepidation.
Yep.
That's a hell of a title.
Yeah, go listen to those 2 songs and then come back and tell me Metallica is still good.
Well, I will always tell you Metallica.
Well, right. Yeah, I won't ever change my mind. Right?
I just want to say that on the Trivium Wikipedia, one of the first sentences is, at his 8th grade talent show, Matt Healy performed a cover of No Leaf Clover by Metallica.
He loves Metallica. Yeah, no doubt.
No Leaf Clover's not even a good Metallica song.
No Leaf Clover's terrible.
Isn't that off of like Reload?
I think it was S&M, wasn't it?
Or Load or Reload?
It was heavily played from their S&M version.
Is that the one with like that goofy ass like banshee shit? That la da 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 da. Is that
Yes,
song?
I think that is No Leaf Clover.
Okay, I think that's off of Load or Reload.
Oh well, this trivia band is nominated for a Grammy in 2019.
Yeah,
Nice.
give them a listen.
Yeah, I will. I will check them out.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll like them. Well, hopefully, we'll see. I don't know.
All right,
hardcore.
gents. I hate to say this, but I gotta cut off.
It's midnight here. I think it's time to start
at
calling
like
it.
4
Yeah.
for feeding, so I'm I wanted to get a couple hours of snooze before that.
Well, real quick for our Instagram people, how do you guys feel about Chevelle? There's a question on Instagram.
I love Chevelle. If you like Chevelle, you'll like my music. We'll just say that. Love Chevelle.
I have a bunch of their stuff like when I lift weights, and they're Chicago area band. Danny, who's not on here tonight, he worked with one of the original members.
You sold Chevelle. The name, yeah.
Sold the name to him and makes money off of him. He goes, "It's a name of an old car, and these idiots give me money for it." He goes, "It's great." He goes, "I don't have to do shit." He goes, "I get all their money from their merch and all this." Because I think they were like 3 brothers, weren't they, or 3?
Yeah.
You know, but
Chevelle to me was they kind of got lumped into that new metal sort of.
Yeah, but they were never like rap rock. Like they were never like.
They weren't rap rock, but they were just. I say new metal is a very vague thing to me, but I just without a label of that era of the 2010s kind of. I don't know.
They send the pain below. That's what they do. But they just send the pain below.
But yeah, but we're at 2.5 hours, and it's midnight here in Atlanta, so it is about time for us to close up shop here. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you to Alan and Steve for joining earlier, and appreciate everyone who's out there listening. PeterPanOnTour.com.
Yes.
Go see Peter Pan.
Got the tickets, ready to rock.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Bryce. Appreciate it. Oh, go see Bryce at the Mesa Music Festival.
Music Fest.
Yes, in April, right?
Yeah, Mesa, Arizona. Yep, I'll be there.
Yes, outstanding. All right, thanks everybody, and thank you out there for all the Music Rewind fans. Appreciate you listening, and until next time, listen to the full album, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Bye.